asked to me, is Real Animator Training Library the real deal?
Is that Real Animator Training real? Absolutely.
The Real Animator Training provided by AMB Animation, it is absolutely the best ever.
Is Real Animators Training for real? Yes, it is.
Where have I been learning animation? Well, the Real Animator Training Library.
And there's so many videos in the library that you could learn forever.
I'm just so happy with the way that I've progressed since I've started in the AMB Animation Library.
I'm a post-production artist. I'm also a member of the AMB Real Animator Training Library.
Is AMB's Real Animator Training for real? I definitely have to say I think it is.
I've been to art school for 4 years, and I've never had any lesson that was as good as the ones that AMB gave me.
AMB Animation can be a life changer. Certainly was for me.
I totally love it. That's what I have to say. That's the way I have to say that I love it, because I must admit that at first I didn't trust it too much. I never thought that would make that difference in my life.
So I went ahead and hopped on into the library, and that library is just so valuable, so many things you can learn, and every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else.
I bought this in support because it has changed my life, and everyone's lives are being changed by this, and this experience has been great.
It's just truly amazing. I may have said that already. But yeah, it's been one of the best things that's happened in my life.
Is Real Animation Training Library real? It doesn't get realer. Thanks.
So, are you gonna join the library?
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Live Stream. Yes, this is all about you, today's stream, where we go into the global Facebook community and we have a look at the work that you've been posting in there. So making things even more realer than real for you, helping you move in the right direction. It's my pleasure to do that. I actually always say that I can't promise that I'll keep doing this, but to be honest, I bloody well love doing it. I love helping you guys. I get a kick out of it. I'm so grateful that you value my opinion, and so as long as I'm around, I can't see myself not doing this. So I'm so happy I've created this community, and we're going to go and look at people's work in there. Before we do that, we're going to begin with some drawing, which is, just to share some tips on drawing. And you know how it works. I like you to suggest a character in the chat. I'll Google it, and I will proceed to break it down and share with you what I see, and then second half of the stream we'll look at your work. So while I'm saying hello, if some of you want to add your thoughts of what character you'd like to see me break down in the chat, I will do that. So go ahead, and I'm going to say we've already got a few suggestions, so I'll do that. So we've got Garrett Mations immediately coming in with a suggestion that he knows I'm going to want to do, because it's classic Disney. I'm from one of my favorite Disney films. The Sheriff of Nottingham. He's scared of me. That's what he is. I absolutely love that character. We got the lovely Hervonia Baker saying hi to everyone. Dylan, I'll destroy you all, draws. Whoa, hey everyone. Canimation 001. Nice to see you, sir. The Amazing Life Fantasy. The Ever Shining Copper Star. Villa Arts. Now, I might do an anime today because we did John Smith from Disney last week, and we did Thief and the Cobbler Zigzag the week before, so we might want to change up the styles a bit, so I might not do the Sheriff of Nottingham as much as though I'd love to do him. We've got Hawks from My Hero Academia. Let me just Google that character just so I can see, am I going to want to do this guy instead of Hawks My Hero Academia. Let's see what he looks like. Oh, that's an interesting. It's quite interesting. I like the costume. Interesting character. Maybe. We've got Octavio Velasquez. How are you? The adorable Kitchen Cat. Now we've got another suggestion from Dylan Dawes. Muy Motion Quasimodo. I might want to do a Quasimodo, but you know, Quasimodo, I might want to break down some animation from him because it is by the great, one of the greatest modern animators that is, you know, still very much alive and well with us, is James Baxter. So I would like to make some studies of that, but not. Perhaps I'm gonna stick with my anime today because it's, you know, I've been doing a lot of Disney. I'm gonna see what this Muhammad Avdol. I don't know what that is. Let's have a look what Dylan Draws is suggesting. Wow, what a almost like a Dragon Ball Z, almost throwback to the 60s anime mixed with the modern style. I like this guy. He looks he looks pretty badass. He looks it's a mixture of Dragon Ball Z, modern anime, and rapper bling. Look at this big gold Mr. T. Well, Mr. T wasn't a rapper. He was like 80s, but he's got this big bling around his necklace, gold chain around it. What a cool design. But we're gonna do I'm gonna go back to do Hawks. I feel like doing this Hawks character. Now this front elevation of him looks pretty cool to me. It looks like a piece of official art. So I'm gonna maybe do this front elevation of him because I think it'll be good to do a full character shot and look at the silhouette of him. So I'm gonna save this image and then I'm gonna open it up and then we're gonna start. Okay, so Hawks from My Hero Academia. Unfortunately, it's not a. Let me try and get the JPEG. It's a model sheet. His model sheet. Maybe I might do a model sheet study of him later on another stream because I do like to look at model sheets more. But I'm feeling like doing a bit more of a his face is unfortunately is. Damn it. Bear with me. His face is all garbled in this image. Or maybe I'll make it out of these two images. His face is a bit clearer to me on this image, but they've got a model wearing his clothes. So I'm gonna make two images out of it. Okay, right. So let's do this. We've got a few people coming in here. We've got I just basically practicing, but yeah, Pat Buttram's voice. He's scared of me. That's what he is. I'm not see how can I sleep with you yelling 4 o'clock and all's well. Dark Matter, how you doing? How do you break down Disney style of drawing characters and landscapes? Oh, landscapes is a very different thing. It's all basically go back and look at my previous videos, Showman 139. They're all in my lives on my channel. I've been doing this for a long time, and what you're going to see me do today, this isn't really, you know. Anyway, I'm going to switch screens. You must be tired of seeing my face now, and then I'll talk about that while we start drawing. So let me just access my file, and then we're going to start. So let me find the 2 images of this character that I saved. That's one. All right. Unfortunately, yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna look at it like that. Let's just do it like that. Okay. Let's do this. All right. Well, a quick thing about breakdowns for showman, right? I've been breaking down all these kind of drawings over time. I've been doing this, I've been doing Tarzan, I've been explaining the Tarzan model sheet. So my stream of the Tarzan is probably going to give you more of a professional insight as how an animator draws. If you go back to my channel, these are all free. You can watch all these. I've been doing, all different. So here you can see me talking about the basic shape study of all of this. And whether it's a Cowboy Bebop or whether it's Disney or anything, it all follows the same thing. We've done Silver, we've done Maid Marian, we've done Klaus, we've done Rockadoodle, we've done even film, so not even anime or all this stuff. If you go back to my channel, you see me breaking down all these characters, right? Aristocrats, we've done a lot of stuff, Boondocks. I forgot what this interesting anime model was. Lilo and Stitch, Fist of the North Star, Jane, She-Ra. I don't know what this is, but that was a nice character. Bianca, I love this. I love this guy. I absolutely love doing this drawing. This was one of my favorites. That style of that Afro Samurai was so badass. So we've been doing a lot of this stuff, right? So there's a lot of this to watch on my channel, Showman 139. So go binge, play it in double speed if you find it too slow, but whatever, or triple, quattro speed or whatever. You'll get through it. Right, but the thing is the way these drawings are done are more like hand-eye draftsman construction kind of thing. So it's not really the way I draw as an animator. That's not what these streams are about. Sometimes I'll give you that, but today we're going to do more of like a basic shape study kind of thing. Let me just find my material. There it is. That's the one I want to open up. Alright, so I'm going to look at the silhouette of this guy. And let me just check one more time, check my microphone is working. My stream is fine. Yes, it is. Okay. So, we're going to look at basic shapes. We're going to think of this guy, right, being enclosed within like an egg, right? So that's the first thing that I'm thinking of when I look at this guy. Now, I tend to always... One of the things about this storyboard software, it's great. I don't like to talk about software, but it always defines my frame for me, and I draw to the edge of the frame. And if this was a piece of paper and a sketch pad, I wouldn't do that. It just trips my subconscious out, so I'll just resize that. Now I'll put a middle line down the middle here, right? And this is, again, it's happening here, like I'm going to the edge of this line here. It's weird how the mind plays tricks on you. So what's happened is this is his silhouette, right? But we're going to cut into there. So down here is where his feet are going to go, right? So then I'm going to think about, well, let's divide this into thirds. Let's divide our egg into thirds, right? So I'm teaching you how to see. I'm teaching you how to see what I call the secret science of shape simplification, right? So now you can go and divide it in further halves, but it kind of confuses you. We're just looking at shapes. So I'm going to put a little triangle in between that shape there like that, right? And then I'm going to, from this first third onwards, I'm actually going to be a bit bold, and I'm going to cut into that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to rub away these bits of the egg here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Is I'm going to cut into that. So we've now got this silhouette, right? So you see how that silhouette is changing, but essentially you want to think of the master shape, which was the egg. He's an egghead, right? So then I'm going to want to think about this triangle here, and just maybe about, like, if you want to judge things, I always do things by halves or thirds. It's not halfway, it's 1/3 of the way here. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to create another triangle, right? Which I'm gonna bring probably down here like this, right? So I'm really basically telling you what if I was gonna draw this, I would just draw it and I'd be super fast and I'd just be doing all this intuitively, but I'm trying to slow myself down and show you what my subconscious thinks when I do a drawing. When I'm like straight up, where it just looks like I'm just intuitively getting everything in the right place. It might seem like that, but actually underneath, this is what the coding, the processing, like if you're playing a video game, you might be seeing Ryu doing all sidekicks and Tatsumak Senpyukak, Shiroyuken, Dragon Punch and all this and that, but there's a load of numbers and codes that's going on that make you see that. So when I'm effortlessly drawing this and it looks like I'm just drawing it like without any problem or whatever, it might be looking amazing. Wow, look what he can do. But underneath, the coding in my subconscious is seeing all this stuff, right? So that's what I'm trying to share with you. Right now here I'm going to put another kind of little triangle shape here like this. Now on the sides we've got like his arms, which are going to come out like this. I love the posing. He's got a hand in the pocket, but I'm not going to worry about whether he's got a hand in the pocket or anything yet. I'm going to think about how these shapes kind of connect now. Like, so one arm's down here, the other hand's in the pocket, but they kind of connect like that. Now along here, along the halfway point of the egg, right? Maybe not, like my intuition is bringing me more, like, as I said, I don't do things in halves. If it's halves, then he's going to be like one of those, really his pants are going to be too high. So I'm going to think 2/3 of the way down of this section, right? So always as an animator, I always like to think halves and thirds, or maybe just a little bit below as I'm intuitively looking there is where his belt is going to be, right? Then this is where his groin area is. I'm not even focusing, and I'm not even talking to you anatomy at the moment, right? I'm going pure shape mode here, so you can kind of see where this is going. Then here I'm going to kind of join that egg shape back, because his pants are kind of going to be something like this, right? So he's going to have his pants shape coming like this all around there. Can you see how this is building up in there? Right, and then he's going to have his sleeves and his other sleeve. It's all going to be kind of lining up with each other, right? So lining up in line with his belt. His sleeves are lining up with his belt. He's got this very graphic jacket shape, which is coming down here and along here. So I'm being quite rough and strong with my lines, but really if you want to be faint and do it like that, you know, you can do it like that, but it really, like, it doesn't really help you see. So it's better I do it like this and get it quickly out the way so you can see. It's going to be a negative space of the hand coming there like that, and then the arms are going to come off the side like that, right? You see how simple this all is when you start looking at the shapes. Now around here, now I knew this would happen because I'm just going to shift him up, because I always draw to the bottom of the storyboard frame. Probably years, 10 years of storyboarding in this program for the industry has probably trained me to fear going beyond that mark, right? So this is, you can always pull out. Oh dear, that came out the wrong way, never mind. But you can always track out and reframe. Right, so the boots, right, are going to go like this, right? And we're going to continue with our triangle shape. So it's all within this line of his pants here, right? Because his boots are going to come out. And then these are all going to, and again here I'm ending it at that line, so that's my bad, right? So these are going to come down here like this. Right, where his boots are going to come into line with. Now I may have made his legs a little bit longer there, but I will fix that and pull that out when we start to draw on top and tidy him up. But there you can see his basic silhouette, and I'm going to come down here, and yes, his boot comes in line with that. And we don't, so this way you see how everything adds up, the structure of how everything adds up so we don't have his boots being too long or too short, and everything is nicely within a frame, you know, so you can see that. We'll talk about the pattern of his t-shirt and everything. It's really quite simple, actually. So the head is going to be a kind of, I'm going to define it as kind of like a square shape like this, which we're going to we're going to come in and make it nice when we get to it, but it's just going to be a square with a little bit of rounding on the side. And now coming just between these wings here is going to be his hair. Now his hair again is just going to be a big square shape, right? Like this, right? That's all it is, and we're just going to come up like this, and we're going to turn it into kind of like a diamond, right? And it's going to be fun drawing this guy in, actually. I may readjust his head a little bit. His neck's looking a little bit long there, but it doesn't matter. You're getting the idea, right? So now the wings, right? So the wings are very, very simple. We're going to create our shape. This one is a little bit higher than the other one to avoid the symmetry. So we're just not going to worry about so much about the complexity of the feathers and all that, right? So now this is the point where the wings are going to kind of come out. Now the egg shape is not as, you know, I'm going to come out of it a little bit, but you can see where that whole egg shape business comes from, and it's going to end in line with his boot like this, right? So that's one, right? Then the other one is going to be in line with the boot, actually, so it's all quite symmetrical, and it's going to come out there like that. So that's two, right? And then here I'm going to put a triangle, so in line with his, you know, we can do it like this if we want, right? I'm going to put a triangle here, I'm going to put a triangle here. It's very easy when you really start to become what I call a shape master, the secret science of shape simplification. So I'm going to put a triangle here. Now at the moment you're thinking, well, that's not too good, it's just a bunch of triangles, but you're going to see how it all works, right? And then we're going to put one kind of big curling triangle on either side like that. Then we're going to cut in, and we're going to cut in again like that, and we'll go back and resolve that later. All right, so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to fatten my brush, and I'm just going to go over these shapes for you, and then we're going to draw over these shapes. So what I've done is I've made a map. I've made a map of shapes, but all these shapes have been within this master shape, and I have taken an egg, all right, and I have split the egg, all right, and what I have done is I have chiseled away and found these shapes within the egg, right? So I've gone and I've taken a master shape, and I have chiseled away within that shape to find these shapes, right? So these are the shapes that I have found, and I'm just refining them because I'm going to come in and we're going to then start to look at the details, right? Just like everything. So before I do anything, I'm going to flip that, right? And I'm going to see that actually this is going to probably want to come out more to this side, right? Like that. So I'm just going to refine this a little bit and bring this out. So the point of this exercise also isn't for you to make 100% copy, right? We don't care. You're going to be doing these kind of things all the time for the rest of your life. Like if you're an athlete, you do push-ups, you do sit-ups, you do pull-ups, you do squats, you do deadlifts, you do whatever. You go running how many ever K, so you can be good at that particular sport or activity that you're doing. If I'm doing martial arts, I'm going to have to stretch, right? So we don't care if we don't get it 100%. The whole point, my system is all about training, right? It's not about this is the one time. Fuck the one time. All right? This is endless. This is forever. This is eternity. You're going to draw for all eternity, right? So there's many times for you to try and get it 100%. But I would say don't try. Just become a shape master. Become good at this. And then your drawings will just be absolutely stunning. And it doesn't matter. You know, nobody really is going to put this drawing next to the other drawing and scrutinize it. And if they do, they need to get a life, right? Because it's about you getting good at drawing, and that's what matters. So a lot of people get lost in these ridiculous quests for why, the purpose of what they're doing. Now I'm going to zoom in and have a little look at this guy's head, right? Then we're going to start drawing on top. So let's come in. So that's the first basic thing we've done. So now let's look at the guy's face, right? Let's put our brush to be a 5. Let's look at the guy's face. So the guy's face is, as I said, it's within a square, but you see we've got the center line. All right, let me go into kind of instruction mode here. Let me change my color. Let's talk construction of the face, because if I just copy the face, so here's what my subconscious sees, right? So we've got this square around the face, right? If I just copied it, you would miss all this, right? So here now on the center line, we're going to put a bit of the hairline, and we're going to come off the sides like that. Now again, I'm going to divide this into thirds. You see, I like my thirds, right? And then I'm going to come down here. He looks a bit like an online friend I've got who's got a channel called Art by Galen. He looks a bit like Galen Eilenfeld. Right, so he's got this like that. He's got a mouth, and his mouth is going to be on this third, just a bit under, but I don't know why I wanted to draw his mouth. We'll come to the mouth later. Let's define his eyes. So within this first third, I'm going to put his eyes somewhere along the middle. But his eye shape, I'm not even going to get lost in the expression, right? His eye, he's got 3 eyes, right? The third eye you don't see. His eye shape, his eyes go along the middle here like this, right? And we'll worry about his expression later, right? So I'm just kind of like molding until I feel I've got the eye shape correct, right? Now here on top is where his mask is coming like this, right? So this is if we were going to put contour lines on his face, but we're not. Okay, this would be the contour line. So a lot of people would waste time doing that. I say don't worry about it, right? So now the mouth is gonna be probably a little bit lower in that section of the third. You see, I divide the thirds because I think I'm gonna rest the eye lines on that thirds, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter because you've divided it into thirds. You can look at that particular section of that third and say, well, no, it feels more like the mouth should be there, right? So his mouth is going to be within that section there like that. So don't religiously think, oh, that's the third line, so I'm going to draw it on that line. You know, you're just dividing it. So he's got a beard kind of line here. Now, I'm not sure what he's wearing. He seems to be wearing some kind of headphones. I don't really just not sure. They just come out the side of his head like this, right? So these are the shapes. Now his hair is a very simple shape, right? So remember, I said his hair is kind of like, I'm going to do it again, kind of like it's going to come to a bit thinner to the side of his headphones now. So his hair is like going to come to these sides of where his headphones are, like this. and it's like a diamond shape, like this. Now my left-right balance is a little off, but that's okay. And then we're going to think of this straight line at the top, which in my rough is a little bit high now, so I'm making him a little bit, and we're going to bring this into these, these portions here like this, right? And then we're just going to come down off the sides. That is essentially the character's hair, right? Because now we're going to make it like, and I'm not going to copy each and every strand because it's a waste of time for me to do that live, but like we're going to start making strands of hair, right, along there. So you got a strand of hair along here like this. You got one coming up and down and away in this triangle position like this. Then you got this one on the side here. We're going to bring that up. So you're going to taper the hair away to make it interesting, and then you're going to fill in these shapes with lines. And there's probably no definitive model. There's just a definitive model for these parts, right? And then all the lines between those parts are going to be your own choices, right? So don't stress or worry about it too much for those of you that are looking to be animators. So this one is more coming down here, and he's got one coming up there, away there, and then in there all these other lines, right? And then behind that you've got like taking like, so making this shape interesting by dressing other shapes on there like that, right? So you're just coming in here and making more shapes around. Now you've also got to understand that this is going behind the ears, so now we're going to be coming out from the ears, so you can't just make his head like a Christmas tree. You got to imagine the hair coming down and away from behind the ears, which is what he has, like that, right? So you have something like this. Then on the top we are going to do the same thing. There's one breakup which is going to come out from this line, then it's going to go over the line like this, and then from there you're going to have like the hair coming back down on itself, and then again we're going to hide that background shape with interesting shapes like that, right? And then we're going to put a few more kind of strands up there, and that basically is the character's hair, right? So his eyes, true to anime form, are quite simple. You're just going to straighten that. We're going to detail the face in with a nicer line so you can see that, but that's essentially all his eyes are, right? And then he's got some goggles to make it all look even more interesting. So up here we've got like, again, mirroring this center line. It's all along the center line. We're going to put his goggles. Then we're going to come down and up over his nose. And it's all within this third line here that I put, right? So that's going to come along there. You could say that it is effectively, it could also be halfway between, his overall head, or almost, right? Because he's got this big top chunk now. So that is effectively the guy's head, right? Then he's got the neck. And I think he's got a beard, but it could just be under shadow. So I'm going to indicate under shadow there. And then, as usual with anime, they really, his face is quite flat, but they really use the clothing to give contouring. So he's got this nice neck contour to bring some round volume to the drawing there. As I thought, I'm going to bring his head just down slightly, because in my rough, his neck felt a little bit long. So we can see that is the kind of like structure of hair. Now, it's all quite simple. The rest of it is really, really simple. So let's go in and look at his clothing. So then, the way the clothing works is, I love the secret science, says Mr. Leon. Yeah, you see, I'm glad I've introduced Mr. Leon to the secret science. It's a secret, but not if you watch my channel, right? So then here, now I'm gonna go light around here and talk the construction of his collar. So actually it's higher, but it comes from just when his hair starts going down like this. We're going to create more secret science for you, Mr. Leon. We're going to create along, this is the clavicle muscle. Mr. Leon has just purchased my anatomy archive, so he will be understanding the clavicle. It's the first lesson we learn. So along the clavicle line, so you're going to learn about these landmarks, Mr. Leon. Along the clavicle line, we're going to have a triangular kind of shape, you know, which we've cut off along the clavicle line. And that is going to be his garments, right? So I'm going to continue down here, right? So from here, obviously we can understand the anatomy of the character, but I'm not going to talk so much anatomy, but you got to know this stuff so it lines up. You can't have his shoulders down here or his shoulders up here when the clavicle's here and the trapezius and all that is going to be here, right? So the anatomy, there has to be a little bit of that going on, but I'm talking less about that today than I am here. Now on this side they've got his neck here and they've kind of gone a bit higher. I would have personally had more of a shoulder thing there, but they've just kind of just gone a little bit higher there like that. That's okay, it doesn't matter, right? So here we're going to, I'm going to have to, even though I've got the construction, I'm going to have to think a little bit anatomy. So again, this shape, I'm going to focus on this shape here, right? And I'm going to think about like, well, okay, I'm going to divide this shape into half, right? And I've got my center line coming along here, which is going to be, and this is going to be ideally where his belt is. So here in this space we've got some patterns, but before I define those patterns, I'm just going to continue. So it's quite evenly around the center line here. I'm going to draw this rectangle, right? Which is, that's all it is. And then along here, you know, we're going to create, you know, intuitive garment clothing things to make it, to hide that shape, right? And then I'm going to draw another one along here and another one along here. I'm not really gonna even look because it's just so basic, right? And then around here we're gonna do the same thing, right? And we're gonna come off and off like that on either side. Now I can tell that my left-right balance, if I was to flip the drawing, is slightly out. You get better and more intuitive the more the better you are at shape, the secret science of shape simplification. So I'm gonna bear that in mind as I'm doing that now and kind of like even that out without flipping my drawing and wasting time. So this is gonna go like this. Now I'm gonna before I go and do the belt and the lower section, I'm gonna check myself because I need to, he's got patterns on his thing. So along the halfway line is going to be this, where his, you know, this almost goes into the, if again Mr. Leon's going to be doing anatomy, so we've got this thing called the thoracic cage. So this particular pattern line starts where his, you know, sternum ends, where the true ribs are. You got true ribs and false ribs, right? And then we've got these kind of lines going beneath. So you see how these anatomy landmarks kind of help us find out how they come up with the pattern on the shirt, right? They're not really abs, right? The abs actually start here. You got this thing called the rectal sheath. So the abs are actually still on the true ribs. So then this is going to come up. Now this is going to be his chest, right? So if he had like anatomy deltoids, a little bit of anatomy right here for you. His chest muscle would be here, right? His chest. So along there we're gonna like draw a reverse of that, where along the line of his chest, right? Then there'll be another one, and then within here we've like got this more defined, almost diamond, curved diamond shape like that. And then to the top of the clavicle line we've got this dome triangle like that. So it all fits in nicely. You see, everything fits into the space, the secret science of shape simplification, without effort. You see, I'm not racking my brains out trying to get my proportions, because the master shape, the chiseling within the shapes within shapes, you know, So if I was Lionel from the original, those of you who are old enough to remember the original, I would say, instead of Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. I would say, animation law, give me shapes within shapes. All right, that's what I would say. And then, so his belt is going to come along here, which I was kind of right in my original construction. Of course I was right? So then hair along here. Now his pocket, his hand is in his pocket. It's a little flat, this drawing, but I like it. His hand is in his pocket, so they've made this a little higher. It's a little bit flat, but I still like the drawing, which is why I chose to do it. So now here, I'm going to rub these away because I was explaining to you about the big square shape, right? So here we want to think about the line straight coming down off his off his jacket, but it's going to be on this side because his hand's in his pockets. It's going to be a little bit different. So we're going to first, I'm going to define the shoulder seam, right, which is going to come off the side to give some texture to this guy like that. But then really, it's really very simple, right? So then again here you got the anatomy of where along the clavicle your deltoid muscle hangs, right? So you're just going to put a little bit of drapery on there like that, right? Just where that is, and that sorted that out. Then you're going to come down, and we're going to look at this straight line here. Then he's got a pocket, right? So that pocket comes out here like this. And this big shape suddenly becomes very, very small when you start adding all these things in here. So that's how we find his pocket, right? Then his pocket is going to come straight up and off. I can't talk in detail about everything like the pocket contour and all that, or we'll be here forever. What I can say is I'm going to bring this down just a little bit, right? Just a little bit more down like that. So then let's just get this arm out the way, right? So his jacket has got all these nice little, and I'm not going to really try. They're going straight along there to get the appeal of the design of the fur, to give it texture. It's a little bit hard and stiff, right? As opposed to fluffy fur. So again, the way how you notice all the fur is going down, they're not going up. You'll go up when you want to change direction, right? So you're going to go up, and then when we're changing direction, then you're going to draw the fur, the kind of spikes or whatever of the fur in a different direction. I'm not really trying to copy his, I know just a basic model like, a straight line, a little bit of spikes, another straight line. So as long as there's a fur model for drawing this, but I'm not really copying the way he's done it too much. I'm just applying the model, right? Some other things would say like have a 3 lumps here, then a lump here, or this is his way, is to do all these kind of spikes and bumps and have everything following along that straight line, so it's kind of definitive, right? So we've got something like that. I'm not going to tidy this. I'll just fine line the drawing a little bit, tidy it up, and ink it a little bit for the thumbnail when we finish. I'm going to look at it because I don't want to spend too long on this. 38 minutes. So I'm just going to explain to you the drawing, and then we're going to move on and look at people's work. So then here, what I like about this is we've got a little bit of the seam coming down the sides here like this, right? So we've got seam coming down the sides here. Now this hand is a little bit different, right? It's going in the pocket. It's going to go in the pocket. So we're not going to start it from here out here. We're going to think of the hand, because it's going in the pocket, the jacket is going to be buckled. So again, remember the clavicle and the shoulder. So his shoulder is going to be leaning more like this with his arms. So we're going to start it up here, and we're going to bring it down like a triangle out there like that. And then we've got, so we just want to think of it coming as a triangle. And I'm going to do the outside like this, because I'll explain to you the buckling of the garments as well, right? So along here is where his sleeve is, just above his and his sleeve is simply a shape like that. That's all it is. And it's coming just to the side of that, like that. So I want to check how it lines up with that, because you don't want it too far out and you don't want it too much in. So we look at this line to this line and we say, yes, that feels about right, right? So it's about on this much of a space. I'm making a big deal to tell these things to you because it's these things that actually make your drawings good and bad, right? It's not how nicely you drawn the face or the way you painted it. That's all kind of childish stuff, focusing on that, right? It's more about getting your proportions right. So here we're going to put a shape in here and we're going to come up and off there. Now this is what makes it interesting. We're going to create a loop and a big kind of like bulky shape here like this, which is then going to come up. Drapery really, you know, one of the illusions of the, I mean, it's not bad draftsmanship, it's good draftsmanship, but one of the things that makes anime feel like amazing drawing when actually it's really simple in many ways. It's graphic, simple shapes. It's beautiful, so I'm not downing it. So those of you who are getting triggered, please just hold your horses. But it is simple. Simple doesn't mean bad. Simple actually means, you know, efficiency, saying less with more. And one of the things that makes it so nice is you can see these simple shapes, right, that are dressed up with just this little few lines and information to kind of implicate this is the drapery of the clothing, this is the folding of the clothing, and you know the bunching is like this, and then they'll put a shadow to complement it, and then whatever, but you know, like hair, there'll be a shadow hair to make it look even more. So these simple lines are what make it essentially seemingly complex, but that's all it is. It's just like a simple shape. Now let's look at again here, this is beautiful. So you see along this line we're going to keep his arms lining up. So let's look at the shape of his other arm. So just like that, I'm going to go to the side here like this, right? And we're going to come out and create his lines in there. And what I will do is rather than tidy the drawing up on stream, I will talk about the shadows, which also make it look interesting. But I'm jumping the gun. So here's just a triangle, right? Which we're coming off the side. Now we're going to make this triangle a whole lot more interesting with the buckling shapes, right? But we don't want our shapes to be, so we're going to think of an outer triangle and an inner triangle, right? So we don't want to go beyond the outer triangle. So the outer triangle is like this. So our shape is going to be like coming out, it's going to come in, and it's going to come out again, right? And as it comes out, notice I'm not making this more, it's all within the outer triangle and the inner triangle, right? So the inner triangle is to the sleeve, the outer triangle is just a little bit beyond the sleeve, which is going to keep the proportion balanced to make that stuff appealing, right? So this is law of appeal, right? Law of appeal, a very misunderstood, underlooked law that I don't think people really pay much attention to, right? So now we've got these lines here, which are kind of like, you got to have done life drawing to study the contouring of all this, but they're really saying less with more. So you've got this lump here and this shape here. Now how do we rectify this, right? So if we look, we know the garment is traveling this way, and then the garment is traveling that way, and then it's buckling on itself. So we simply say, well, if the garment's traveling this way and this line's here, why don't we put an opposing line here like this? Suddenly, you know, this opposing line creates an interesting shape in the character. This is a little messy, a little too messy here. Let's just tidy that up a little bit for you, as we're starting to talk about the finer points of the drapery of the character, right? So that's probably more like it. So there we can see how, you see how it's all, let's just blacken this blue this dude in. You see how it's all just easily sitting on top of this thing like that, right? It's not difficult. Let's go in and do the arms and hands now. So he's wearing a big glove, so it's going to be kind of like, it's just a shape. So let's draw. First the arm comes, the hand comes straight on. There's a bit of negative space, but his thumb is literally touching his trousers, right? So his trousers are coming straight down there. I'm going to stick to what I did. And there's a little bit of negative space. Now they're making his gloves kind of interesting. I think that's not his gloves. That's part of his jacket, right? Which I kind of liked. But then, so his glove is behind his jacket, right? I thought they were like putting buckling lines on his glove. But there's a kind of like little groove on his glove here, right? And again, you want to think hands always as like you're going to put a little triangle here. You're going to understand that that's the carpals. Then you got the metacarpals, which are going to be this section here, like this. Then we're going to come straight out. I'm going to zoom out so I don't make his hand too big here. So let me first map the length of this guy's hand. So his trouser comes down here like this. Let me zoom out and look at the guy's legs. So when I'm zoomed in here, I start to get as I'm focused. So we want to step back and look at the bigger picture, right? So we're going to talk the hand again, but when we're so close in, we lose proportion, right? So it's best to zoom out and see where we are. So we've got that trouser leg about there, which is going to be the hands. Now I can see that my ruff is a little bit high to where I wanted that. So I'm going to change that. So this, you see it's a little bit higher, and it does make a difference. But notice how on this groove, I'm going to almost like do a big line here like that, because that unifies that side with that side. And then within here, I'm going to start putting all these. I'm going to put another line and another triangle in here like this, and another triangle down here like this, which is all going around the guys. You got to understand he's got his hand in his pocket, which is going to be coming here like this. So it makes it all very interesting, right? I didn't talk about his belt design. It's just simply along the middle. There's a rectangle around that side, and I'm going to do these as fat lines when they're, they're kind of like rectangles divided in half like that. So that's his belt pattern, which I'll tidy up later. And then here we got more triangle coming in here to really, you see, it's just a square, but then this lump is where we kind of figure the, and we start adding the stretch of the drapery. And then what makes it even more interesting is all of the other bumps that we're going to get of the pockets. So the straight line here, I love doing these contouring of these seams of the garments, because that's what helps the illusion, right? So we're going to come out here and we're going to start creating a squiggly straight lines, right? To, create that illusion that line is a constant line, but it's traveling, and it creates the texture as we start putting these triangles. Simple shape simplification there for you there. Now this line is here of the pocket, but it joins onto this line, right? So the same way we had this line coming here like this, we also have a line coming there like that, right? But it's hidden. But only the secret science will be able to disclose this, right? So the more you know about the secret science, the more this stuff is so easy to spot, right? So this comes along here like this, and out and down like that. And now I may have gone to a little bit too far with that to down there, but that's how that works. So you see now we have this nice sort of pants going on here. Now I'm going to finish his pants before I go on and do the rest of his hands and things. So this is going to be a straight, very straight line like this, right? But they give that line texture, right, by just tapering it in and out a little bit, right, like that. So really, what does the secret science tell you about that? It's just a rectangle, right? And then again, you're going to do that on this side by bringing it, you know, again, it's a straight line, but we're going to taper it in, and just, you know, a little bit above, like this to this, we're going to create a kind of like triangle to balance that, you know. And if we really think about that, what that is, right, it's just kind of like a two shapes like that. That's really all it is. And then you're going to make this interesting by bringing this line in here, right? There's going to be shadows to make those lines seem not as far apart, but the more you draw, the more you really see the width of lines and you don't get lost in the shadows, right? There's so much sail up tonight, lost boys, lost in the shadows. I just realized what I said. But yeah, but it's true. You don't want to get lost in the shadows when you're drawing. So this is going to go like, again, all this is just another shape, right? But then, you know, you're going to create that bump. Now remember the secret science, right? This is a straight line, and the triangle is going to go on the outer line like that, right? To keep it constant, right? And then we're going to come in like this, and we're going to just go straight along here like that. And then we're going to again with the secret science, this triangle line is going to, we're not going to go too far out, we're not going to go too far in. We're going to marry those two lines together, and we're just going to come straight down just like that. See how it all adds up, the structure, how easy it is. Now this actually goes up to there, right? Or you could say it goes to there, depending on your understanding of drapery. Everything has to add up, right? Everything has to add up. That's, if you're thinking, well, what is the secret science? Yes, it does take a little while to study. It's not, you know, it's a science as far as I'm concerned, which is why I call it the secret science of shape simplification. My own term that I coined in the Real Animator Training Library. But if you really want a quick kind of just explanation, dictionary definition, if I was going to define it in the dictionary, I would say shapes within a master shape that all add up, right? That all connect, right? That's how it works. So then here we've got one line of the pants, his pants, right? Like that. Now again here, this is interesting, he's got a seam. So we're going to do the same approach here. Here we're going to look for our rectangle, right? So let's do this in blue. Let's really make fun out of this. Let's really turn this into a fun. The way this lecture is going is I'm not going to waste time fine lining this like I do on some of these, right? I'm going to instruct a little bit more, like, so it's going to be a rougher drawing, like this kind of, more like these kind of things. So I'm going to do a bit more instruction than just watch me how good I am, right? So here we're going to draw the triangle here. Then I'm going to look at this bump here, so I don't see it instinctively. I was going too far out, but it's within that bump, it's just bigger. So I'm now going to put a triangle kind of like in here like this. Then I'm going to join that, and I'm going to look at the outer triangle. I'm going to put another triangle in here. I've got to keep an eye on how these connect and add up. Remember the secret science, right? So this is going to go here like this, going to go straight along here. Now this has got to connect with this, the secret science, right? So it's all got to add up. Now I've got to remember, we've got to be careful. This line and this line, while this would go in more, this has got to add up to this, right? So don't go too far out. Then we're going to come in, and then we've got this line coming here where this has got to add up to that, right? And then we've got this. So these shapes are like this. So we got a shape here, we got a shape here, we got a shape here, and then we've got a shape, you know, and I've got to kind of like add that up, right? We got a shape here. Now I'm going to yellow that in and draw over that. I wanted to do that graphic, so sometimes I feel as I'm just explaining to you while I'm looking at the drawing that I'm referring to, I feel that you're getting it, but you're not quite seeing the construction that I'm talking about as I'm doing it. So I've just shown you what my subconscious, if I was just sitting down listening to music or an audiobook, this would be done in a matter of minutes, right? Probably this drawing would take me about, if I was going to do it nicely, about half an hour or something. But like I've really slowed down so you can kind of see. I've tried to share with you what my subconscious mind sees when I make my drawings. Right? It's what I'll do within sometimes seconds with a few strokes. It's like the coding of a video game, right? So here we've got the inner seam. So it's like that's what my inner mind's eye is telling my hand to make those strokes, right? So we've got that on that side there like that. Right, so you see how that's all kind of adding up now. And I'm going to come here because I feel I was explaining that he's actually left that line out, and that brings some unity to that side and that side, right? Now, before I go on to his boots, I will now return to his hand because we got the hand in relation to the pants now. So his fingers are down here, and I'm going to look at the secret, always go back to the secret science. The thumb sits around here. So the negative space of the jacket is more, that's quite rough with that jacket. So I'm going to just tidy that up as I come into the more delicate aspect of the hand. So the thumb sits along the trouser like that. I'm just going to go in here and do the jacket there like that. Right, there we go. And then I'm going to bring this in a bit. It's a bit hard to see there because of the black of his wing. So I'm going to start from here. Why from here? Because his forearm is about here. So again, my subconscious kind of figures out how to solve that, right? So then here we've got the knuckles, right? Which are in line with the saddle joint, which come down. And then here, I'm a little bit out, all right? Not going to be, as I said, I'm not going to be 100%. It's just a black shape. So really his fingers are a little bit higher, but I'm kind of just going to keep that. He's wearing thick black gloves. I can't see the finger separation lines, so I'm just going to kind of make them up like that, right? And then this hand sits in his pocket, right? So here maybe I'm going to tweak that a little bit. So this goes in here, and there's a lump here. There's some nice kind of reflective blue on his blue light on his hand, on his glove, which kind of make it feel, they put a few lines here to give that, make it feel more like his shine on his glove is there. My pleasure, Mr. Leon. The clavicle is what I know you'll be studying that if you started the archive, so that's exactly why I did that. You've got a whole 3 videos on the scapular belt, which is the clavicle and the scapula, so you can look forward to those. Now, my boots, I knew my boots were going to be a little bit out because of that, so I'm just going to go in here, and his boots are very, very black. But I'm going to go in here and take a wild stab, right? So he's got his socks, right, which are kind of framed within these boots, right? But I'm going to get the back, so I'm out on my rough, so I'm going to have to just draw over a little bit, and then it's contained within this shape here like this. So you see it's contained within a shape like that. And then we've got a shape along the side and the outline there like this. Now the rest of it is a big black lump. So how am I going to solve that? I'm going to solve it with my knowledge of anatomy and the secret science of shape simplification, right? So this is essentially like a square, right? So then if you understand the foot, I'm going to think, well, I'm going to make a kind of square. This is like a big square chunk here, like shapes within shapes. But I'm going to then understand that along here is going to be like a triangle shape, right? Which is going to be coming forward and out. And I've got to remember my line, right? I've got to remember my outer line from maybe the jacket there, which is going to stop me from getting his boots too big and clunky, right? So this is going to come out here. Now I'm going to unify all that with a curve, right? Just like that. I'm going to unify all that with a curve. I'm going to bring that down, and then we're going to have another shape underneath to look like his boot. Right, now I'm going to take all of these lines away, and we're going to use other lines here, right, to help define this shape, right? So there's going to be a kind of like fold, right? There's going to be another fold. And now because it's all black, right, I'm imagining that there's going to be a line like this and this. But what they've done is they've created a little white sheen, right? A little kind of highlight that goes along the black shape like this, which gives his boot some volume, right? And then when it's colored in, and when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it all kind of adds up, right? So that's the simplicity of it. Now again, everything is within this, everything's got to be, he's not 100% symmetrical, because you never want that. But when you're doing this kind of drawing, you have to make sure that all these kind of shapes, so why I'm not doing this bit at the moment, remember we're going to create master shapes. Now those shapes have to add up. So we're going to create master shapes, right? And then look for the shapes within shapes that add up, right? Shapes within shapes. So again here, the big clunky boot, again the heel is going to kind of come down and straight. And this is going to be, you know, it's all on one line. Sometimes I like to change that, but this isn't. Now, again, so we're going to play with perspective here. So we've got a straight little line here, but we're going to put a more of a triangular line here. Then we're going to put a line out. Now, let's make sure that that adds up, right? So we don't come too far out, because the minute you zoom in to the screen and you start doing details, when you're drawing digitally, or even if you've got to do it with a sketch pad and you like lean and look towards to get a closer look to do the finer details with your sketch pad, so you're gonna lose the bigger picture. So always remind yourself about the bigger picture. Where is it adding up? And that's how you won't slip up, right? You will slip up every now and then. I slipped up a little bit with the length of his hand in relation to this, but it won't matter. As I said, you know, this is an eternity, and we don't care. We're training. It's like training. You'll be, even if your form is great, at times your form you'll lose form, and then you'll have to rectify form. If you're doing push-ups, your head will dip down a little bit, no matter how much you think you got a straight back and this and that. And then you'll maybe need to rest, so you can, instead of doing the 100, you'll rest and do like 50 good ones. And then it's that kind of thing, you know. So if you feel like busting out 100 one day with a little bit of bad form, go and do that. It's not, you know, it's all the same thing. So don't kill yourself about that. Right, so that's overall the guy. But now we're going to look at his wings, right? We're going to look at his wings. So the wings I'm going to be very quick about. These triangles, what do they all mean, right? Let's come up here and let's do the first triangle. So we've got a shape up here like this, and I'm just going to taper it out like this, right? I'm going to come in, and I'm now going to create shapes within shapes, right? So that's the first, right? Then we're going to do the second one, is going to come out. So this triangle still very much exists, but we're going to bring it in like this, right? 1, 2, 3. So suddenly he's got feathers, right? Then we're going to come here, we're going to put another triangle like that. I'm going to put another triangle along this triangle. We're going to come and divide that in two, just like that. I'm gonna put another one in here. I'm being quite rough and careless, but I think you can see where this is where we're going with this. Let's zoom out. Suddenly they're looking like feathers, right? Graphic shapes. So we're gonna come down here like this. We're gonna make a big swooping line. Now I really like this. This is nice. He's got some texture on this. I'm not gonna spend too long here, but he comes out here. I love this. Starts to break it up. Give it that feather texture. Right? Then we're gonna come in, right? His is much nicer, but like that's the way it works. So just like with the clothing, you know, when you come to like the end points, you're gonna be a little bit more detailed, right? And then here you're gonna have like just simple graphic shapes, which the eye will kind of fill in the gaps and go, oh yeah, they're feathers, and you'll totally just accept them as feathers, right? Then we're gonna come around here with this line is gonna come more down here like that. Yeah, so we're gonna break that up. All right, so that's one side. Right, let's now talk about the insides. Right, so from here, remember we talked about coming in up here like this. We're just gonna create a nice kind of, I'm just gonna look at his silhouette, right, like this. Perhaps there's a little, I've been a little bit, this is a little bit more to this side, right, and this is longer, but it doesn't matter. As I said, I think I've illustrated my point of creating the illusion. I'm kind of speeding up now because I've hit the 1 hour mark. I've been enjoyed explaining to you. Like I think I got a little carried away with my explanations, and I went a lot slower. I started out really quick, and I said it's still kind of like a rough drawing, but it's I think I've given you good explanations, right? So now we're going to think about within here. We're going to think 1, 2, right, and this is 3. So you know, you got primary feathers, secondary and tertiary feathers on birds. So you know, you're going to think like so. But within here you've got 1. And then here he's got nice kind of like patterns that I'm not really religiously going to copy, because I believe he's intuitively just made them, but he's gone along that 1, 2, 3 mark like that. So that's the only thing I want you to really know, because now I'm just kind of like just making marks here to illustrate, yeah, these are bird feathers within here like that, right? Doesn't matter. Let's now do the other side. So the other side, I've got to open my other because I saved the drawing. So the other side is going to be a little bit higher, not too much. So on this one we've got like a nice bit of, so we've got a triangle up here like this, right? And then we've got a bigger triangle. So I did this as one triangle, but now I'm kind of refining that triangle, right? So here we've got the feathers overlapping each other. Let me just come in a little bit so I can get that in there like this. Then down here we've got this straight feather, and then here we're gonna split those in 2, right? And we're gonna move down onto the next one, right? So again, I did a triangle here. Now why did I do that? Because there's one long feather that comes out like this, and another one that comes out like this within actually a triangle, which is like that, right? Then from there on we're gonna go super long like this and break that up like this. The feathers of the bird, this guy's wings, are very much like doing a, you know, you might see my posts of my character, the female character, the AMB lady, right? So you might see these kind of posts that I've been putting on Facebook. Now what makes it nice is the hair, right? The hair. But then what makes the hair even more nice is again, it's the same principle, these master shapes, but how are they all kind of adding up? So then I might put one hair and then put two more in here like this, have this coming down here, have it coming along here around, connecting like this, right? How does it, shapes within shapes, how does it all connect to create, you know, this will squiggle around here, but then maybe there'll be another one here, right? To give it more volume and body, right? So this will come down here like this and come out, right? But then this will maybe need to separate within itself. You can sometimes create, this shape isn't nice, so you see it all kind of, this kind of thing, whether it's Disney, whether it's anime, whether it's a life drawing, whether it's whatever, if you're making, whether you're making your own studies or whether you're designing your own characters from scratch, right? This has to add up. You're really going to want to train yourself in the art of the secret science of shape simplification, simply so that you know you will understand how to make appealing drawings, right? You'll understand how to exaggerate those drawings. Now this I got to pay attention. This is all nice. I've got my line here. I'm sticking to that. I'm kind of being a little bit careless now, but I think we can see that those wings are looking like wings and not as much like weird triangle shapes, right? Just simply because, you know, it's about cheating the human eye, which has got a load of pre-programmed. Think of it like coders, like coding and programming. Like people are pre-programmed to look at shapes and their mind will say this is a wing or this is that. But if you just saw a triangle, you say, well, that's a triangle. That's not very good, is it? Well, we dress the triangle up with like little intuitive gestural triangles, and then, you know, that have some pattern to them, right? And then suddenly the receiver, like, so I'm the sender, you're the receiver, the mind's eye, your mind's eye will say, ah, that's a wing, right? So that's how it works, right? Been a bit loose with that, but when it all colors in. I did say that I'd talk about the shading, but I don't think I will. I think I've spent longer than usual on a rougher drawing, you know, today, because I've actually enjoyed disclosing this stuff with you. So I'm going to put this here like this, right? So let me just blacken that in, right? So we can see that that's essentially the character that we have, but we can also see, now there's been some erasing done, that essentially that's all it is. We just dressed these shapes up. That's pretty much all we did. We simply dressed those shapes up. So that's a lot of vector lines, so that's going to take a while to move. I wish I didn't do that. Come on, is it even going to crash? Okay, let me quickly save that before it crashes. I was going to try and... I'll do that off stream, right? I'll do that off stream. So let me... I don't... It's a little strong, that, so I'm going to knock that back. All right, now... before we go looking at your work in the global Facebook community, I'm gonna just pop onto camera and see what some of you guys are saying in the chat. If there's any kind of question that happened while I was doing that drawing that I can cover quickly before we jump into the second half of the stream. Don't worry. Okay, I remember that. I remember those questions. Dark matter. Ben Hartley, hello. I'm sorry I couldn't say hello to you before. I was probably drawing. I want to be an independent animator. I'm hoping to take from Don Bluth and Disney style of drawing. The first thing I need is how to draw, and that no, that's not the first thing you need. That's if you. I have 20 years experience in the industry. I've worked as an animation supervisor. I've worked as a head of story. I've worked as a character designer. I've worked as an animation director. And from the horse's mouth, that's not the first thing you need. The first thing you need to do is to understand animation law. That's the first thing you need to do. Style is merely an expression, and if you don't know the words, how can you express yourself? So if you don't know the laws of animation, if you don't understand basic anatomy, the science of shape simplification, these styles are not, you're never going to be able to express these styles. You're going to be able to you're going to be like countless fan artists, countless people who are just trying to draw in a style. They think they've got it, but really, somebody who can really draw in that style is somebody who can knock out a piece of animation with their character from any angle without having to think about it and just get it, and it's perfect, and that's the style, because that's the expression. It's like the way I'm talking to you right now. It's expression. So style is expression, and if you don't understand the language, you can't express yourself. So the language of animation is not, drawing is one aspect of it, but drawing is like sound is the expression of the English language, but so is also writing, right? I'm speaking and I'm writing. I'm expressing whatever language. Let's say use English as the example. So if you're going to be wanting to do Don Bluth and animation, Disney style, I get it. I was a huge fan of Disney and Don Bluth. But if you're going to want to do that, you need to understand animation law. You need to know timing, arcing, slowing in, slowing out, solid drawing, pose to pose, and straight ahead, follow through and overlap, squash and stretch, exaggeration, appeal, staging, anticipation. You're going to want to learn all these kind of things, right? Primary and secondary action. So you're going to want to instinctively understand all these 12 laws. So they just come to you, right? Yeah, and you're going to need to immerse yourself, and you're going to need to be able to know how they work. That's when you're going to be able to animate. Or you can be like today's animators that could just get a filter on Snapchat of a Pixar style character and say, I'm expressing myself in a Pixar style, right? Because that's the way technology is going. Or you could pull someone else's puppet around that's pre-designed in that style. So that way you could do things in that style. But if you're interested in drawing and you say, I've got to learn how to draw, then this is what really frustrates me, and this is why I'm here, and what that R in the background stands for, real animator training. Is like, I'm here to educate people who really want to do it the right way, the real way, because there is a right way and there is a real way. It isn't a namby-pamby world of it's art and I want to do it my way, I did it mine, this and that. Go and do brain surgery that way. It's not going to work. There's laws to animation. There's principles, there's rules. And there's laws, principles, and rules to the good stuff. Everything else is shit, and nobody really cares about that. And people might be proud and want to defend their own independent little efforts, but as I said, I'm here because that R represents quality. That R represents a high standard, and you've used the word Don Bluth and Disney. Now, Disney to me today is a catalog company that shits anything out, but I think you mean the real Disney, right? The true Disney, the classic Disney. So they're the highest possible standards of animation ever. And seriously, the last thing is drawing, right? Drawing is the tool that you have to use. There's no equation. If I want to speak, I have to use my voice. If I want to write, I have to use a pen and ink. But learning to draw in that style first will not make you good at animation. And that's where most people screw up. And it's laughable. It really is laughable. When I first started my business, I used to do research. I used to frequent animation forums. And I used to, the arrogance of some of these people that have never worked in the industry, never done anything, just shouting, bitching, and being quite rude to people who are asking questions. And they said the only thing you need to do is to learn to draw. And I think, who the fuck are you? What have you done? What do you know? You're writing in this forum, people are listening to you. Why the hell are people listening to these guys? What the fuck have they done? Oh, they had a few independent commissions. Yeah, whatever. You know, the reality of it is yes, drawing is important and your drawing will get good over time. But it's like saying, I'm going to be a ballet dancer, but the first thing I'm going to do is get the splits. There's so much more to being a ballet dancer than getting the splits. Right? It's like that's just a basic fundamental thing that you have to be able to do if you're going to be a good ballet dancer. So while your drawing is developing, you need to immerse yourself in the fundamental laws of animation. Animation is 100% law. There is no getting around it. And those who think they're breaking the law, if they do it successfully, they're working with the law. And those who are breaking it, it'll show. It'll show. So my advice to you, showman, thank you for coming on my stream. I don't feel I've spoken to you before, is to seriously think about what I've said and consider, you know, if you don't want to sign up to the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation, which is my Real Animator Training Library, nothing even touches it. Consider going to somebody else who has professional experience, and if you're serious, only listen to those people who have done what you want to do, because everybody else's opinion is valid as an opinion only, but not an experienced opinion. So this is the difference, you know, fact versus opinion. So you have fact, somebody who has been where you want to be and has done it, and then you have opinion. Now the opinion may come from the biggest fan in the world who's got millions of subs, but he hasn't done anything. It's still an opinion. So you really have to, one of the laws of success by Napoleon Hill, it's a great book, is you have to be able to separate fact from opinion. I spit a lot of opinions on this channel, and I always am clear to define when it's just an opinion. But when I talk about animation, getting good at animation and getting good at drawing, it's fact. But when I start telling you my opinions of styles, and I start telling you this is weak and that's whatever, I make it clear. I tell you, well, that's not fact. That's just my opinion, so I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes using my somewhat authority from having 20 years in the business at the very top of the animation. I don't want to mislead people. So this is why I'm saying it's tricky, especially when you're passionate about something, especially when you care about something and you really want to do it that way and you just want to jump in and do that. So you want to look for opinions that validate your confirmation bias. But if you really want to get what you want, you got to shake the boat. If things aren't working for you right now, you got to empty your cup and fill it with new knowledge, factual knowledge, experienced knowledge, knowledge from people who really know what they're talking about because they've really done it for real. So that's the best advice I can give you for that. Get your head out of drawing and get your head into animation, because drawing is a part of animation. Real animation, which is what my thing is. I don't do digital puppetry. I don't talk digital puppetry. I'm not here to talk about whether it's a 2D puppet or a 3D puppet. It's a fucking puppet. I don't classify it as animation. When I'm here, I'm talking about real animation. I don't care who I trigger. For me, real animation is animation that is drawn frame by hand. That's my opinion. All right? Not a fact. It's my opinion. So somebody else will spit me what animation is and call that a fact. Okay, but I'm here communicating to people who want to draw it. And I think a lot of you feel the same way. You just want to draw it. You love drawing, you want to bring your drawings to life. That's what you're about, that's what I'm about. I'll show you how. That's real animation to us. Okay. Alicia Shepherd is here. DL101 Art. Good to see these people. Yes, I can see Alicia Shepherd. Your drawing, which I can't really say much about, but we'll look at in today's stream, is all about shapes. Bifferpup Draws, how are you? Happy Easter to you. Mr. Leon, I see I improved a lot when I learned from you not to use the onion skin. Absolutely. Yeah, so again, to show, what was his name? Showman139. Mr. Leon is currently doing a project for Disney, right? So, again, as I said, separating fact versus opinion, right? So you see the people I'm communicating with. So he's doing a combination of digital puppet and real animation. He's doing drawing and he's doing digital puppet, but he's probably coming to me because he wants to get better at the drawn stuff, right? So again, if you're gonna want to put yourself more in a community of people who are where you want to be, right? So Mr. Leon says, I improved a lot when I learned from you not to use onion skin and instead flip between frames. Absolutely. I'm shocked, though, Mr. Leon, that this is new to you as a pro. That's how far down, that's how low the standards of animation are, because they're so relying on digital puppetry, which is a whole new ball game where I'm pretty sure the onion skin really matters in that. I don't know, but I'm happy to make you aware of that, Mr. Leon. You know, thank God that you understand that now. Simple shake helps you to maintain constant character structure, but there's nothing to feel ashamed about, Mr. Leon. When I worked on before 8 Crazy Nights, I came out of animation school, got a job as an animator. 2 jobs as an animator. The first one I was fired after a week because I didn't have a clue about the industry. But then I moved on to another one maybe a couple of days later, and I was you can Google it and see it. I was 20 at the time. It was called Mill Times for PBS. You can see the animated section. I was an animator on that. I came out of that thinking, oh well, I can do it now. And then I jumped onto a Hollywood movie, 8 Crazy Nights. Which didn't last very long. It was taken away from the studio, but that's where I met my mentor, who was a Disney Bluth supervisor, and that's, you know, after that, enough said. But my experience on 8 Crazy Nights was very, very difficult because I didn't know about flipping. I would always use the light box. And it wasn't my mentor. My mentor was a lot kinder to me, but I was so happy there's this other guy who had worked on Titan AE with Bluth and on the Dragon's Lair 3D intro with Bluth, and he came to supervise as well because my mentor went to set up his own company in England. So he came to do it, and he was a lot more straight to. He's a lot more, in a way, a lot more like the way I am, a bit no nonsense. So he's like, "Come on, man, you what are you doing? You're animating with the light box on." And I used to not use my other hand. I would do it like this. I'll put it here, and I'll come it out there. I'll pull it back, I'll do it like that. And this hand was redundant. And then he was saying, the only guy I knew like that, who ever animated like that, had to animate like that because he only had one hand. And his stuff didn't really look very good. And like, he would come and he'd look at my drawing, he'd say, he'd say to me, how did you get a job here? I'd be like, I'm so happy I went through that experience. I don't care. We live in different times now where people get triggered, and probably the guy would get in trouble for that. But, you know, I'm so happy that I went through that experience because I didn't waste time. I could see the guy was shit hot. In a few seconds, what he drew would take me, even in a year, I wouldn't be able to get it. You're talking about drawing in the Disney style. Even in a year, I wouldn't be able to draw it in that professional, you know, whatever style 8 Crazy Nights was. It was kind of like this Warner's Iron Giant style. But it's that professional American cartooning style, which I thought I was good at, but there was always something a bit off. it didn't quite look like it. This guy would just go within a few seconds. You know, I think some of you know what I'm talking about, where you feel you can draw in a style, but somebody who really works and does it in that style, you know, you've never got that, you know. So when I was with him, I was kind of like, well, I didn't get all crybaby about it because I've got a martial arts background and my master was quite rough with me. I was like, well, I need to do it right. So I'll, you know, I had a big ego, don't get me wrong, but that ego went out the window because now I was talking to the real deal. Now I wasn't talking to my peers. I wasn't trying to feel I was better than him because he was the same age as me and all that shit that you go through when you're a young man. I was talking to my peer. I was talking to my superior, my clear superior. I was talking to somebody who was where I wanted to be. And I was like, okay, if that's the way. So like, and within a few days, I'm flipping with that hand, I've got the light box off, and my animation is suddenly like, boom, so much better. And I'm like, why didn't I always do it like this? So I totally get where you are, Mr. Leon. And it's my pleasure. The whole reason I started this channel, the whole reason I do what I do is to bring my experience to you guys. And I always say the way I do it is if my younger self would have wanted to be taught, how would I train my younger self? You know? So I'm trying to bridge that gap for all of you guys and show you the things to hopefully so you get there quicker than I got there. You know? Those of you who follow me. When I tell my non-artist friends about this, they're always amazed that it all connects. Fantastic. Yep, absolutely. Alicia Shepherd is 100% right. Everybody would benefit, whether you draw or not, about understanding your body. It's funny, people spend all this time vacuuming their house and cleaning their car, and when I'm not even talking about exercise there, I'm talking about like, how much you really know about your real house, how much you really know about your real vehicle, because the body is the real house of your consciousness, because that's what you are. You're simply consciousness, and it's the vehicle of your consciousness. So it's a good job to understand it, whether you draw or whether you don't. I don't understand people who don't want to know about it. I'm deeply sorry for being away. I got locked in an extremely... I'm so sorry to hear that, Alicia Shepherd. But you're back now, so let's not focus on those negatives. We fill in the blanks. The AMB drawings are so good. Thank you, Dylan Draws. I really don't like trying to do something and then remember an action the software doesn't like. Akao the Warrior, reconnecting. Everybody's reconnecting with Alicia. That's good. It's been away from the while. It's always wise to go with people that have a legitimate experience. Absolutely, Dark Matter. As a PhD professor of psychology, AMB can teach. Thank you. The whole reason I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and I don't call it teaching, I call it training, is because when you teach, you then have to follow a curriculum, and for me, a curriculum is a crystallization, and everything's moving. Everything. Like, I once loved the Disney company. I now despise it. In fact, I want to get on to the point where I don't despise it and I'm indifferent to it, because it means it's still affecting me. So, but everything is moving and you know, that's the way. Don't crystallize things. That's right, Dark Matter. But that's what makes doing these kind of work amazing. There's always something and someone better than you. The light box helps, but not every time. The light box helps for what it needs to help, in betweening and cleaning up. That's what it helps for. Or if you're doing extremely subtle close animation, you know. I use an animation app on the iPad. Trash Boy, hey, I just got here. What do you think is the best way to start in animation? I've been animating for 3 years now, but the best way, honestly, and you're gonna laugh, is to join my training library, right? It's the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation. I don't blame you if you're cynical about that, okay? So let me just tell you what the, without telling you what the training library is all about. Really, you want to immerse yourself. Go back and watch earlier in the stream, because I'm going to go and change, but I'll just repeat it now. There are 12 months to a year, so say you want to do it on your own, you still, in my opinion, need to have professional guidance. But take one of those months and spend the whole month, 5 days a week, 7 if you can, studying one of the 12 laws of animation. Timing, arcing, slowing in and slowing out, pose to pose and straight ahead, solid drawing, follow through, overlap, anticipation, primary and secondary action, squash and stretch, staging, exaggeration, and appeal. Immerse yourself in those laws so that you can spit them out whenever you want, just like I did then. Okay? And because your subconscious, once your subconscious gets it, just like it gets how to driving a car, it's all fucking easy. It's nothing. It's a joke. All right? Animation is my life and I love it. So when I say it's a joke, I don't mean it's a joke as if it's crap, but it's a joke to me. It's just like all of those things of how do I do this, how do I do that. I don't care about the how. It's so easy. I can fart it out. Right? You want to, why? Because of animation law. So immerse yourself in animation law, understand animation law, and you're literally the god of your own universe when it comes to animation. Because there are laws of nature. If you want to say God commands nature, he'll make it rain. You can be a scientist and try and figure out, but sometimes random shit happens. So I don't want to debate God with you. We'll just call it power, all right? Power makes it rain, energy, whatever. So when it comes to animation, you literally, everything is yours, right? If you understand the law. There's only, as I said, I like to use that Judge Dredd as an example. Judge, jury, and executioner all in one, if you want to call it. But the only way you can do that is I am the law, animation law. So that's my advice to you, Trash Boy. Okay, right, let us now, second half of the stream, 1 hour 41 minutes in. There's not that much posted in the group, so we're going to go and look at the global Facebook community now, where it's going to be less about me talking. Well, I'm still going to be talking because that's the stream, but we're going to be looking at your work, and we're going to be giving you guys who've been working hard and posting in the community, training library member or not, if you catch my attention, I will give it to you, right? But obviously I do prioritize library people for obvious reasons. All right, now let's go and have a look at now Pedro and Cameron have gone and posted in the group. Now, as much as I love you guys, it's best to post in this group before the day when I stream, which is generally Monday or Sunday. So if you post during my stream, then it's not likely that I'm not going to want to, because it's just, otherwise it could be endless. Right, so what is this group? This group is called Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress. It is free for anybody to join. You don't have to be a training library member, but it's mainly used by library members as a community to share their work, have a peer group, and I like to every week snoop on these live streams. If you go to the featured section in here, you get this thing called Real Animator Preliminaries. It is my gift to the non-library members and anybody who's considering Real Animator training, looking to try it out. You get 9 free videos. So if you copy this password here, you click on this link, and you basically paste it into here. You will be taken to this. All right, so this is free. You don't need to send me. You're not going to get spam sales pitches. For me, this is enough to convince you that this is the world's best learning resource. All right, so I don't need to bother you with that. So you get 9 free lectures. You got Bouncing Ball from the Basics Archive. You got Swinging Pendulum from the Basics Archive. Now, these are step-by-step lectures that you can have a go at. You got to follow along with me in these lectures. You got the Basic Walk, the first. There's 24 lectures in the Basics Archive on the walk cycle. Each cycle is split into 4 lectures. You got one of those lectures of the Basic Walk. You got the anatomy of the foot. You're going to learn every bone in the foot here. You know, this is a really, really powerful video I've given to you. You know, probably better than most anatomy videos you're going to interact with in your life. Then you got like the anatomy for the animator, which is a different kind of, this is more like the stuff you're probably used to watching on other courses. But when these kind of videos are combined, then you see the true power. So you get one from my intermediate archive, jumping with squash and stretch. So these are the training videos that you get. You also get a seminar, which is a class, an acting class. So you can watch that. This isn't so much training, but it's a seminar. You've got Dynamic Perspective and Ask AMB Livestream, which are 2 edutainment streams, which are more like very much like today's stream, where I do a very nice demonstration, whether it's animation or drawing, and I interact with the audience. So these are what I call edutainment streams. So go enjoy that free content there. That's amazing free content for you. I'll talk more about the library, the actual library, at the end of the stream. Let's actually look at some of your work now. Now, I did say that this community is not just for library members. Garrett Animations is not a library member. He has posted his drawings here. I want to give Garrett a little bit of my attention, because he has posted drawings here before, and I just want Garrett to know that there's a significant improvement in your drawing. I really see a lot more structure in the guy's head. It's a lot better. What I will say very quickly is, I will say to you, while you're using nice, let's use my red, my beloved red. While you're using this nice structure on the guy's face, so he's getting these nice features, his nose is lacking that structure. So you've got this, you're using this, it looks to me like you've taken on board. You also, I mean, maybe you're a Dragon Ball fan, you want that flat eye. I would consider like maybe rounding his eyes off and maybe feeling like they're within sockets, but that's up to you. So I'm just doing that, right? So around here, you see this diamond shape, you're using that. So I'm going to get onto the nose in a minute to give you a little bit of assistance about the nose. So here, you want to, you know, the zygomatic bone comes out here like this, so that all adds up. So, which is good, you've kind of got that here. I would actually not have it coming all the way like that. I would, because it goes along this arch along the side. So I would, rather than doing that, I would then bring it here to, so it doesn't feel like the face is all hanging off this diamond, right? I would then bring it out to the side. But it's your choice, you know. You can bring it in, and then down here the guy's jaw is here. So everything's kind of good. Now, here's where I feel that you're kind of losing, you know, the structure of the face, right? I do like your ear. I think your ear is very good, right? You know, you got the helix, you got the concha, you got the anti-helix. You got, you know, I'm going to shove the tagos in there. You don't, you know, you don't need that, but, you know. So this is the element of your character that I'm liking, Garrett Mations, right? I'm really liking this. I'm gonna put I'm gonna, just for my own sake, I'm just gonna give his eyes a little bit more, because he's got these deep sockets, right? So I'm gonna put little bags under his eyes, not so much bags, but under eyelids, because it gives him more dimension in that socket. Because, you know, I know the Dragon Ball, maybe you like Dragon Ball, but the Dragon Ball gives it that kind of flat look. If you're going for that with the eyes, that's fine. But I feel your nose, you don't really understand the nose, you don't really understand the chin here, so we're losing a bit of structure in that. So like hair, you know, I like the looseness, but hair is kind of like, so let's just talk a little bit about the chin. So let's just say the guy's jawbone is coming around here. It's going to connect, right? And you're always going to kind of want to, I'm exaggerating it a bit too much, right? It's probably going to connect like this. So the jaw, you're going to think that jaw is going to be on the other side, right? And people get lost with all this, because even I do it when I draw my characters. I don't necessarily draw the jaw on the other side, but if you're a beginner, you need to kind of understand that, right? So you're going to, even if he's got like a rounded chin, you're going to want to think about, you know, a shape like this, right? Something like that to bring that together. Then this gives you his mouth area, right? So even if he's got a longer mouth, right? So this area within here is the maxilla. So you're kind of bringing his mouth straight down here like that. If it's a skull, Garrett Mations, if it's a skull, let's use this. Remember, from the side view, all right, we've got our frontal bone, our zygomatic bone, like this, and then here is our maxillary bone, right? But then up here is our nasal bone, right, which actually comes around here, and then the maxillary bone is like this, right? Here's the lacrimal bone, the ethmoid bone, the vomer bone, the sphenoid bone, right? We know all that. Well, you know that if you're real animator training, right? But so here the nasal bone kind of comes out like this, right? It's just, so it's not going to come straight down from here, right? We're going to think of a little protrusion, and even if we're going to bring that in, it's going to still be out a little bit, you know? And this is where the jaw kind of sits, right? And the skull is like that, right? So we want to, and we'll talk nose again in a minute, but like, so you want to almost imagine him to have a bit of a snout, because that's the hard bit of his bone, right? So you're going to bring his maxilla out here like this, right? And then his mouth, say you want to exaggerate the length of his maxilla, right? So it's not up here like that, it's down here. That's fine, you know? So we can put that expression that you want. I'm going to bring his lip up and his bottom lip down a little bit. And I'm going to create that kind of like feel. I'm going to put his lip out there and put his foremouth in there like that, right? So that gives it, and then around here you can put more of that, which then gives the kind of like orbicularis oris of his thing. I will personally put a little tooth in there to make him look even more menacing, right? So I'm gonna just vaguely just go over this, right? Because I've explained that to you now. So we've kind of covered the maxilla, and then I'm going to talk about the nose to help you understand the nose, right? So I feel like putting a little kind of shape there. You don't have to. It's your character, but I'm just explaining to you, right? So I will do like that, right? So what I will do also is just remind you of that jutting, you see, because then that gives depth, right? Because that's the hard bit of the nose, right? That's the hard bit of the nose, right? So now we've got more structure to the front of his face, right? So then what we're going to think about is about the nose, right? So you've got your frontal bone, right? And I don't cover this in the anatomy archive because I'm saving it for the muscle archive, cartilage, right? You've got your zygomatic bone, right? And you've got your maxilla bone, right? Which comes all here. But you have this thing called your nasal bone. I do it like this triangle. It's obviously not so triangular, right? Which juts out, right? And this maxilla kind of fuses around this nasal cavity, right? I'm going to make it like a big easy shape for you like this, which is what we do in Mr. Leon in the anatomy archive. We understand it in a very easy way like this. Now I'm going to bring that back like that. Now you see you've got all this kind of like contouring along here, along this nasal bone. But then along here you got, along this halfway you got like, so this, imagine this is like halfway we're going to come out with the nose. You got this dividing line, it's almost like a coat hanger called the nasal septum, right? And then on each side, everything, like you got one eye on this side and one eye on this side, you're going to have this cartilage, like, which is the alar cartilage on this side and on this side, right? And it kind of folds around here. You got another little bit there as well. So that's the soft squidgy part of the nose, which hangs down on the front like that. So what you have to understand, which is why I drew this, that's the hard bit, right? You can make that hard bit. So you've got a straight line here. Maybe he's had his nose broken, right? So I'll bring, but that's the hard bit, right? So if you want to kind of curl it, you're kind of giving him, you want to kind of have this curling nose that you have here, right? Like this. So it's kind of cartoony, which is okay. So then I want to think, well, okay, here's the curling line, right? That's the hard bit. Now I've got this kind of little section here, right? But that's giving me something of a tunnel along here, right? Something of a tunnel along here, right? Then everything else, you know, I might put his nose shape out here like this, so I'll make more of it, right? I'm making more of it. You don't have to make it so big. I think yours is just so small and understated, and it doesn't really feel, it feels very flat, except on the profile where you have made more of it, right? So we're going to make more of it like this, right? So it's going to be a shape like that. And then you can start thinking about that, you know, bringing in of it and the, you know, bringing around of it like this. You're going to want to think about the contouring, right? But not too much, right? Because at the moment I'm giving you this very structured way of drawing. But the more you start progressing, the less structure and the more intuitive your marks will make, so it'll look less nuts and bolts, and you'll be a better draftsman, right? So hopefully this helps you. Like, also you're going to want to think about the, you know, the way the skin folds under the nose, and, you know, if we're coming around the nose. So remember the secret science of shape simplification. Everything adds up, right? So we're going to come off there like that. I don't quite understand if that's his hair or if that's like some leaves. It almost feels like he's like a strange character. He's got like, I'm going to put like these leaves on his head. It feels like he's got leaves on his head. You know, let's put a few cherries and whatever. Like, interesting character, right? So, oh, it's hair. Okay. Well, we'll talk about hair on another stream, maybe. Okay, so maybe I've given you some pointers on taking your drawing a little bit further. So Garrett Animations has been following me for a while, but he's not a library member. But I want to give him some kudos because his drawings used to be a lot weaker than this, and it looks a lot better now. So if I can give him any pointers to help him accelerate even further, it's my pleasure. That was last week's stream. Okay, so here we've got Pedro. Pedro, as I said in the chat, I'm not going to linger on this. I want to see the two of these together. But you tend to, as I said, your drawings of these things just tend to always feel like you've drawn it, right? So let's draw the paw of the dog, right? Let's just do another one like this, doesn't matter. Feels like you've drawn it, right? Maybe it's because you're not, as I'm doing it, I'm thinking of yours, you're not giving him enough of a rib cage. Maybe that's also creating the illusion. Your rib cage is too small, right? So that's also it, but it feels like you're doing this, right? Everything. And what does that do? That makes it a very small rib cage and a very long forelimb, right? So just bear that in mind, because although that doesn't matter as much and that should iron itself out, in the intermediate archive you should be kind of like going a little bit, you should be not making those kind of visual errors, right? So the length, this is a stretching drawing, but the forelimbs don't quite add up. So here I've said, like, you keep asking, is there anything to do? Is practice this. And I replied to you, just finish the exercise, Pedro. That's how you practice it. Like, remember my analogy about Charlene. I don't know if she's online, but I'm going to do it again. The cute top view video game model of Charlene walking, right? With Charlene. Remember, this is the goal, Charlene's dreams, right? Right. Remember that analogy I made a few lectures ago? You're like, I'll take a few steps forward. No, I'll take a few steps back. I'll go this way. Maybe I'll go around it this way. No, I'll go around it that way. You've never actually walked to it, you know. So you've got to finish it. Interaction with me is great, but for some people I think it's a hindrance rather than a help. Just remember, real animated training is not, it's a self-study thing. And part of what makes it real is it's forcing you. You're following me step by step along the way. And you're having to use your judgment, right? There's, you know, the security of all the time coming back to me is sometimes a hindrance, right? You gotta see things through. This is Alicia Shepard's drawing. So Alicia Shepard, this has been posted by someone else, but I don't mind because I like Alicia Shepard. So I think Daniel Garcia is trying to say, well, Alicia should have posted it herself. Yes, in a way that's true, but I kind of like Alicia Shepard, so I'll be most forgiving in that regard. I don't really care. So this is Alicia's drawing. Again, this group is more about animation. Alicia is not a library member, but I'm highlighting it because it's very good. It's very good because what I see when I look at a lot of people is when they use color, they tend to hide bad drawing with color. And it's very easy to do that. It's very easy to just suggest and then use the bending of light and shadow and everything, and then it's all about tricking the eye. When we did this drawing, I drew a bunch of triangles. It didn't look good. Then I dressed those triangles up with fluffy lines or whatever. Suddenly, your eye is convinced, yes, right. That's a good drawing. That looks more like it. But no, it's, this is essentially what it is. So a lot of people who paint use that concept, but you still have to have understanding of structure and anatomy and drapery when you're using line. When you're using color, less so, right? That's just the medium. But with Alicia Shepard, what I really particularly like about this is it's almost like a piece of modern art, because she's taken it to the stage where it's almost like the Eiffel Tower. Like the Eiffel Tower is like, I'm going to create a beautiful building. Many people didn't think Eiffel did a beautiful building at the time, but he's like, I'm going to show you the structure of all these buildings that you find so lovely, but I'm going to show you what they really look like, right? And that's what the Eiffel Tower is. And it's glorious. And, this is me putting my more conceptual art head on rather than just like technique. So Alicia's dressed it up with great technique, but she's exposed the basic shapes that make this rather lovely drawing. So for many people would be looking at that going, look at the hair, look at the detail on that. Well, I know how to do that. It's very time consuming. You do a lot of pencil strokes and then you understand the different lighting patterns which she's given you with the shapes, right? So I'm not so like, wow, look at the detail and all that. I'm more like, I love the way she's taken these basic shapes and she's exposed those basic shapes, but she's dressed those basic shapes up. And there are a lot of people who are going to be looking at this drawing and they're going to be really liking it. Some people might look at it and think, well, it looks too angular, but that's actually the reason why I like it, because she is basically, it's gone beyond I'm going to do a photorealistic drawing of a lion. It's like I'm going to use the graphic medium that is 2D and I'm going to dress it up with a 3D illusion to give the illusion of 3D with light and shade and draftsmanship. So very well done, Alicia. Don't really have much to say other than what I've said about it. Really good. So that was like almost like our art, you know, very don't normally get posts like this in the group, but that was our art stream. If anybody wants to see how Alicia put it together, I think this person has posted a video of it. Garrett Animations is doing rough animation test. Now let's have a look. So again, 3 non-library members. See, so if you're a non-library member but you catch my attention, I will look. I don't know what to expect with this. So here we see, now this kind of illustrates my point to the person who was saying they want to know how to animate. Now Garrett is got to work on his drawing, but he can kind of draw to a fair to some level where he can convey information. He needs a lot of work, in my opinion, but he's obviously, Garrett is somebody who, this piece of animation shows that the drawing is more important to Garrett than the animation. It's maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he thinks, well, he's hearing me and he's saying, well, no, I want to animate. But the thing is until he forgets about drawing the pretty face and, you know, and actually thinks about the pose and the shape and the silhouette and the law, you know, of what'll make something like this nice. Now, she's just moving, for example. I'm not sure what she's doing. She's touching her head and turning her head. It's a head turn, but she's moving her arm. And her arm is, I'm not looking at it and saying, well, a beginner would say, well, the arm has no volume and form and all of this and that, and it's getting longer and smaller. That's solid drawing. That doesn't matter. But what this lacks is the basic understanding of the 3 fundamental things, which is, you know, the laws, the base laws, the basic, even before we go on to animation, which is what real animated training is all about, all right? In the basics, all right, we cover what I call the 6 laws of movement, right? I split them into 6, but they're actually 5, and we introduce one of the laws of life, or they're interchangeable, right? But I like to divide. I just thought it's easier to do it in 6, in half. In the intermediate archive, right, we focus on the 6 laws of life, right? But Garrett is missing the 3 master laws, right? The master laws, the fundamental laws that all the other 9 laws rest on, are these 3 master laws which rest in the 6 laws of movement, which are timing, arcing. Those of you who follow me will have memorized these, and I've already, whether you join my training or not, I've already kind of changed your life because you'll think more about these things. Timing, arcing, slow in and slow out. All of these other laws have to follow these. Whether you're doing squash and stretch, it has to slow in and slow out. It has to have some timing to it. It has to follow an arc of some sort, an arc of motion. Whether you're doing follow through and overlap, whether you're doing primary and secondary action, maybe you're thinking about staging your scene. Well, what's the pacing of the siege? What is another word for pacing of a scene? It's timing. Maybe you're thinking, I'm going to exaggerate. Well, let's exaggerate the arc. Let's exaggerate the speed with slowing in and slowing out. Maybe you think, well, how can I make it more appealing? I should slow it down. I should speed it up. I should make it bigger. I should make it smaller. I should take some frames out. I should add some frames. Everything rests in these laws. So I always scoff at people who think that, no, you can break the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law. All right, mate, go and break the law. Fuck off. I'll talk to people who really want to learn about real animation, right? Everything rests on this. Right? So this is where you throw the drawing away. And this is the disconnect. So Garrett's post kind of illustrates what I'm kind of trying to say about what I was saying earlier about people who really want to learn what I call real animation. Real animation, right? You want to immerse yourself in animation law. Garrett's character needs to arc its head turns. Unfortunately, it's not really following an arc. It's not really, there is no real timing to the movement. So it's kind of just moving, like the hand comes up at a very regular speed. There's a little pause here which gives some timing, but then the hand kind of moves down. Now these are very kind of just, there's no real arc. It has to kind of arc to move, but so what Garrett's doing is he's drawing, and he's doing what a lot of you do. He's trying to worry about getting the drawing right, trying to get the face to look like the face, worrying about form and volume, which is the last thing you need to worry about. Form and volume is like, you know, you're driving your car. It's solid drawing, the law of solid drawing. You learn to drive a car, you're kind of crappy at it, you know, the years go by, it's all intuitive, it's all easy. You start trying to do that without learning all this, all the real stuff, you know, you're kind of trying to build a house from the top to the bottom. It ain't going to happen because you're going to have to empty that solid drawing cup to start doing all this stuff. And your mentality is going to always want to keep things solid, and your animation is going to be stiff as a hard shit, right? When you're gonna, and it's going to be very difficult to come out of that mentality when all you've spent years of your life worrying about solid form and volume. So this is it. I mean, we live in a kind of anime mentality now where everybody where the movement is very stiff and very, you know, just slowing in and out of poses with quick changes. Dynamic stuff, and people think that's flashy and good, but to a trained eye it's simple shit, you know, and they dress it up with tons and tons of special effects. So we live in that era now where people are growing up thinking that's hand-drawn animation. That's why I exist. I'm here to remind the people who want to go beyond that, who want to be elite, about what the real stuff is. So my advice to you, Garrett, is yes, work on your drawing. But whether you can afford the library and you want to be in the library, or for whatever reason you don't have the library, that's fine. My advice to you, what's that? I'm super excited every time I hear zygomatic bone mask. There you go, right? My advice to you, Garrett, is to just play around with a bouncing ball for yourself. Play around with simple things like arcing. You know, what happens if I put this ball halfway between and follow this arc? What if I make the arc smaller, right? You know, well, maybe I'll just put one halfway here, and maybe what'll happen if I put one a third of the way down here, right? What'll happen? Just play, you know, start, you know, doing that stuff. I want to do a head turn. What'll happen if I don't worry about the drawing of the character's head? I just make it something like this, right? I don't even need a mouth or an eye or eyes because they just make me have to worry about keeping them in the right place. What'll happen if I make the head turn and his head dips here, right? His head then goes up here, and then his head rests down here. What'll happen if it follows an arc like this, right? What'll happen if I take that head and make it follow a figure of 8 arc? What'll happen? Where should I slow the head on these figure of 8s, right? Maybe I'll slow the head at the top here like this, right? And then have it come faster down. Here's the midway point, right? Maybe then as it comes up here, I'll kind of like slow it down a little bit. Let's really slow it down. Let's move it here and then add a few. These represent the frames of the head, right? These lines, right? They represent the frames of where you're going to put it. What'll happen? Play with that, Garrett, right? That's going to really help you, because this is a lot of energy, a lot of time. And Garrett, it's not that you can't do it. You can do it. And it's quite straightforward. But it's about, this is you, Garrett. This is you, this is me, this is Mr. Leon, this is Charlene, this is every single one of you. This is you at your core, you know, at your very core. That's all you are. You're a massive energy. And where are you going to focus your conscious energy? Because a lot of that is going on other stuff that you can't help. Blood, lungs, heart, fighting infection, breathing, random subconscious thoughts. You know, what are you watching? What are you doing? So you've only got a little bit. When you think I'm putting all my focus, you're only putting all your conscious focus. Right? You've only got a little bit of it. Not much of it. So that's why it takes us time to do things in the physical realm. So you need to understand that, yes, I get it. I'm here for people like you. I'm here to communicate and sell my training library to people who love to draw. Okay? It's called the Real Animator Training Library for a reason, and I'm being real with you, right? But you gotta kind of step back and empty your cup. So you gotta kind of understand, well, I gotta not draw for a while, and I gotta focus on other things. And then as you start, the beauty of the secret science of shape simplification, and Mr. Leon has got it right here, okay? The secret, he's written it down, and Kevin Cammins is doing this, which I find, you know, and even that's a secret shape, even though I don't like SpongeBob. The beauty of the secret science of shape simplification is once you understand these shapes, right? Let's just move this shape like this, right? Let's create a bit of space here, right? Now I'm not going to do anything great here. I'm focusing on arcs, right? I'm focusing purely on arcs, right? But the shape simplification, right, is going to make my drawing better, right? It's just going to make my drawing better, right? So it's going to be here. Right. So then I'm going to think about what this is going to come more this way. Let's keep the shoulder here, right? The straight line, all lines, but I'm thinking more about arcs, right? Let's have something else come here. Let's introduce another shape like this. Boom, 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 right? Now look at the arc. So this is a figure of 8 arc. It's coming down, it's going to come up and come around here like this, right? Alright, so let's turn this head here like this. Let's change that shape, right? So again, I'm just managing shapes, right? You see, but I'm thinking of animation arcs, right? Let's then bring this up here like this. Let's keep this. Let's bring the arc in and around, right? So let's bring the hand here like this, right? Shapes, right? We can break that shape up and make it a hand later, right? It's just shapes, right? So let's put a bit of hair like this, right? Let's put a bit of hair like this, right? The hair's out here like this, right? Like so. Let's put a bit of the hairstyle there like that, right? So the figure of 8 arc goes up and down, right? So now it's going to come down. Now this is all straight ahead. So as I said, what I'm not doing is not, it's this many, some people might actually think this is good animation, but for me this is just like demonstrative shit, right? To just kind of, now this is arc, to kind of illustrate to you just how easy it is, right? If we just immerse ourselves in animation law, right? Right, so now she's going to do another, just so the hair, let's have the hair kind of come up and away on itself like this. Let's have a little bit of her hair on this side coming out. Boom, 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 right? That's great. See, Mr. Leon is somebody from the industry. Just read his last comment and look how his mentality is, right? So now the figure of 8 arc is going to come back to itself, right? Now, actually, I'm gonna bring it back to itself because it's going to anticipate and she's going to gesture forward. So I'm not thinking about the drawing. I'm not at all. I want to make her just a little bit more sexier, as if she turns her head and shakes a little bit her head while she's putting her hair down, right? So then I'm going to kind of relax. So these are going to represent the fingers relaxed, right? Like that, as she's going to bring her arm away, right? Now we're going to change the shape of that hair. So reverse curve, animation law, right? You see, just like that. This hair is coming up, so let's bring it out a bit more, right? So she's like, turn, right? She turns her head this way. Now she's gonna go and like gesture. So this is all straight ahead shit, right? I don't even know where I'm going with this, but how am I pulling it off? Animation law and arcs. So she's gonna turn her head this way. Right, boom, 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 right. Let's keep that little finger up. Keep those fingers there to make it more feminine, right? Just like this. So the hair, let's a few trails of that nice big flowing hair dropping down like that, right? It's going to straighten, right? You see how drawing and animation come together to make something. So she's gonna like, oopsie, this is on a different level. Have I been animating all on the background level? Something here is on the background. Edit, cut, edit, paste, right? So bum 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 bum. Now why is that like that? Honestly, if this software is so stupid in that regard, like it thinks it's flashy that I can select the layers from the thumbnails. Fuck off. I mean, it's like I just want to click between the two. You see how software slows me down? Doesn't matter which one it is, they're all shit with this stupid intel. Just give me digital paper, man. Right, so this thing turns here like this. He's gonna turn. Now the arc, the figure of 8 is gonna come up and down again. So our figure of 8 goes up. Oopsie, yeah, so it goes up, around, and up again, right? That's what I'm gonna have her head do. So the circular arc. Let's have her talking now. So let's open that mouth. You know, even you can even, like, for me, this is a beautiful, beautiful woman. It's the AMB lady. So I'm thinking of, like, I want this girl to be even sexy in these basic shapes that I'm making, right? So I'm going to think about the mouth shape there, like that, right? Just like that. Boom. And I'm going to have that hair come down, have it all kind of come together on itself like this, right? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And then it's gonna, oh dear, have we drawn the background again? Yes, we have, you stupid piece of shit. Right, edit, got, put this in here, right? Like this. Then she's gonna lower her head with that hair coming down here. I'm gonna get more and more graphic as I start thinking about life, right? So let's think about that mouth, think about those lips, right? The nose, right? Hair like that, right? Let's put a little bit of the eye there now, right? So I don't really I didn't try, all right? I didn't try. Let's see, I haven't timed it, but let's see what we got, right? How many minutes was that? Somebody tell me. I don't even know, right? I didn't try, right? But you see, we've got something that a lot of students or beginners would feel very happy with if that was drawn in, right? And the drawing is the easy part, right? This, which I didn't even try, which I shat out, you know, is the thing that makes it appealing. Now the drawings on top of that, you imagine this character, where is it? You imagine this character on top of that, all right? We're going to have something extremely wonderful, right? I have this character on top of that. It's not hard. I can draw that character very easily. But being able to get something like this, it's not hard for me, but that's where the real skill, acquiring that skill. This is like driving a car, brushing my teeth, changing my pants, doing whatever. Maybe they were hard when I was a little kid. Driving a car still is hard for me because I don't really drive. But you know what I mean. Animation is easy when you understand animation law. This needs to be timed and in between, but all the hard work's done. And that's why I could walk into an animation studio many a time when I was doing animation and piss out amazing work while other people are struggling and spending their whole week and humming and eyeing around the line tester. Because I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, okay, let's just, what, you want this? Okay, next scene, whatever, you know. So that's how it works. So hopefully Garrett Animation, I've been able to inspire you to consider where you're putting your focus. And anybody else watching who says they want to learn animation and get good at animation, you're watching air from the horse's mouth. I know that there's paradigms inside you that you've been doing it a certain way all your life. You kind of got this tendency. You love to draw anime. You love to draw Disney. And you wish there was another way that you could do it so that you could just skip all this stuff I'm talking about. Well, good luck. All right. As I said, real animator training ain't going anywhere, you know, but your time, your life, your minutes are. So I'm here to speak to the people that are ready to wake up in that regard. Patch Tunes, member of the training library. Hi, AMB and real animators. I am happy to share my completed front walk cycle and a work in progress of the front run cycle test. I feel I've been learning quite a lot from these tests, such as adding slight variation to each step. That's exactly what Training Library is all about, repetitions. From feeling bland or flat, how to swing arms, frontward, viewing angle, and how to time these cycles with 12 frames. It's amazing how these cycles have the same amount of frames, but unique timing gives each one a distinct feeling. That's right. That's again, I'm reading Patchtoon's comment because he's a Training Library member. I'm interested in what he's experiencing as he's doing the exercises. And that's the whole point of this. You do a run, you do a walk, you do a jog, and there, you do a run from the front, a walk from the front, and they all are 24 frames long, but they all, one guy's walking, the other guy's running, the other guy's jogging. They're all at different speeds. And that's the law. Those are those three fundamental laws of movement: timing, arcing, slowing in and slowing out. So here's his front walk cycle. Good stuff. His head feels a little pushed, like he's pushing his head forward a little bit. And it's a little bobby, like it's a little bit, feels like it's a little like nodding a little too much. It's a difficult cycle. This is the hardest. I'm going to put it on loop before it. It's the hardest cycle to do in the entire basics archive. It's the hardest one exercise in my opinion. With the exception of the head, I think you've done a pretty stellar job. I like the fact the hands come down. The hands could come down a little bit more. This hand is a lot better than this hand. If we watch it, look at the weight as it travels down along the body, it's all figure of 8 arc. Look at that hand. It's doing a figure of 8 arc, right? It comes down, it goes up, it goes down, and it goes up like an infinity arc, like that, right? The other side, it does it, but it almost we just feel that little bit of turn. We don't really feel it as much as that side. It's a difficult balancing act, Patchtoons. Overall, it's great. We feel the shoulders working. I feel the pelvis could work a little bit more. I'm not feeling so much. One of the things that make that front walk, if we look at the Cowboy Bebop thing that I did here, one of the things that we push in that front walk, right? And I did it with anime timing to give it that feel, right? One of those things is that when our hips are bent, right? And then our hips straighten, it almost feels like we're traveling to the side. Now this is an exaggeration, but that's what it is. So your pelvis is doing that, but it's a little understated. So this figure of 8, and I really exaggerated his thing to really emphasize that figure of 8 feel. I fucking love that guy's face. The feel to what it is, but it's great. You've kept it solid. The head feels a little. There feels like a little quibble in there, which is spoiling the arc. Feels like there's something going on there, but I'm not going to linger on that. That's a really good effort. Let's look at your front run cycle keys and breakdowns. That's all right. Okay, this is a great, I like Dragon's Lair, right? So this cycle is... I like the fact you've given him like this athletic body, more athletic. So this is looking great. I do feel his head is I think with his head, it's like because you've given him this V taper, there is a danger, Patchtoons. You've kind of like given him this V taper more so than the straight stick man that he is. So what's happening is his head arc is getting more like bigger than what it needs to be. So it's okay. It's going to look very exaggerated, but it might be too exaggerated for the timing of his run, right? So it might end up when you're in between it looking a little awkward in that regard, but you followed the exercise. You pretty much followed it, and it's all working, and it looks lively and sprightly, and let's put in the in-betweens. I'm very interested to see how it looks. Don't change it. Don't change it. There's nothing wrong here. What are your notes here? Torso balances out here on the down pose. Excellent. See, that's the way to learn. Excellent. You're taking real notes as you're following along. This is how to follow my lectures, people. Okay? So, yeah, don't change it, Patch Tunes. I like it. I like it. I want to see what it looks like. You've not done anything wrong. You've exaggerated the shape of him, and his torso feels a lot bigger than his legs. Not a lot, just a fraction bigger. So his head is going to be at a bigger arc, but I kind of like it. I want to see what it ends up like. Let's, it is, I mean, I can't help it. I love the Dirk the Daring run cycle, and I threw it in there as a kind of like, fun thing for you guys to do in the basics archive. So have a look at that. Don't have a look at it. Finish it. I want to have a look at it. Don't change it. You've done nothing wrong. It's just a little bit more exaggerated, and I want to see what it looks like. So, fantastic. I think Cameron had some drawings here, but again, there's not much I can say. This is what I was mentioning this before about Cameron. Mr. Leon, Cameron is working his way through the... is that Gandalf? He looks very cute and sprightly there. Mr. Leon, Cameron is doing something. You've just joined the Anatomy Archive, so I'm explaining to you what Cameron's doing here. Cameron is doing the micro study, which is getting your drawing up to speed to improve your hand-eye coordination. So he's studying those bones in greater detail. So this is, if anybody wants to know about drawing and animation, this archive, I'm in the part where we fuse and we are all the same. We are animation, beam, cannons. Yeah, animation just the same. Right. So this is anybody wanting to know about how to make it, bring it all together. Oh, I deleted all that animation I did of that. You see, I don't give a shit about that. I can knock that out anytime. But so this archive, the Anatomy Archive, kind of trains you how to turn the shapes into more detailed drawings, because you learn those bones. And I used the skull as an example before, but I like to use the scapula as the best example. You learn about the scapula and the clavicle, right? You learn about the scapula and the clavicle as these shapes, right? But and that's what you start drawing in. But then if you only draw like that, your drawing, particularly if you're not very good at drawing, your drawing's weak. So you start to understand, the real kind of shape of them, right? The distal portion, the proximal part of the head, this coming around here, which comes over on this side, this coming here, there's a spine of the scapula, which comes around here like this. This would be more on the outer side then the humeral head connects here like this. So then these aren't too challenging shapes, they're not like trying to get their simple shapes, and you're learning how to contour them and all that. So you're improving your drawing while you're learning shapes. So this archive, Anatomy Archive, is in essence the way a realization of the secret science of shape simplification, because you're taking that and you're interpreting that. So when, say I want to draw a drawing of we are doing Dirk the Daring running, right? So say I want to just put in this Dirk the Daring kind of run here like this, right? Right, so we've got our shapes, right? We've got our shapes. But then those little bits of knowledge are going to help me, right? So the scapula comes along here, right? The shoulder is here. So as this is going back, there's going to, no, the clavicle is here. Scapula is going to be here. So we're going to kind of marry the two together. So these graphic shapes are going to be informed with those actions, you know. So it's like the knuckles, you know, which are a graphic shape. But when you learn about the hand and you learn about, see, this portion here is the carpals coming in here, you learn what makes that all kind of work together. So again, the muscle, so again, coming in here. So his scapula will be more in because his spine is back. So the scapula will be back like that. And by understanding what the scapula is doing, you're going to start to get this diamond of the trapezius more accurate. So things, again, you know, I don't draw like that. I don't draw those shapes because it's all intuitive, easy for me. Like I'll just make a few lines, right? I'll just make a few lines like this, right? And it's there, right? Right, I'll just, let's do this instead, right? I'll make a line like this. Now I'll make a line like this, right? So I know what this represents the mylohyoid, right? This is going to be the lip. This represents the nose, right? But I just know, right? So the scapula is going to be here, right? As it comes along here with the humeral head, right? The latissimus dorsi is here. So this is going to be where the, you know, all of this stuff, the pelvis is here, the buttocks is here. So you just know, right? It just becomes extremely easy because it's all intuition. You immerse yourself in it so much to the point where it becomes intuition. So you're going to start by doing these shapes and then going, the rib cage is here, the pelvis is here, you know, but then the drawing is going to be more disjointed, you know, going to be a bit more like a comic book artist's drawing in those more inferior kind of comics, right? You know, so you're going to start doing this kind of stuff, segmented drawing, stiffer drawing, right? This has more information than the previous drawing, but it's a bad starting point. For me, maybe not for you, depending on where you are in your journey, but for me, it's a bad starting point. Too much information. Why? Because I am insecure and I need to see that I have got it right. I'm at a point now where I don't need to see I got it right. I'll know I'll fucking get it right. Right? That's it. That's the difference. I know I'll get it right. It's easy shit for me. Now, how do you get to that stage? Right? By going through all of this. By going through what Cameron's going through here. It's very important. Now, some of you will try to go through it, which is what I love about Cameron Allen Davidson Black. He's just doing it, right? Every time, right? What can I really say about these posts? What can I say about this drawing? Nothing, really. But he's posting it, and he's showing, that's what I'm doing. And that's what makes it even more powerful to me. Some people just get bored. They get bored, they get fed up, and they don't see the point of it. They want to go back to doing what's fun, right? Okay, it's your choice. It's your life. Dylan Doster says, these are the results from a quick pose session I attended yesterday. If I were to say something I learned from this experience other than just a better understanding of the human form, was relying less on my wrist and more on my shoulder and elbow. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say anything against that. Dylan is a training library member, but he's also learning from other sources, and he should do. He should do. He should, you know, he's completed the 3 training archives, the basics, the intermediate, and almost the advanced. I want to see a dialogue test from him. But now he's also wanting to loosen up, and he's having a go. So I'm not, when I look at these drawings, it's interesting to see what he's doing, and what he's talking about, like shoulder versus wrist. Now, I like to use my wrist, particularly when I'm cleaning up and tidying up, right? Elbow and shoulder. For me, when you're working, it depends, Dylan, on the surface. So, I'm going to come onto the screen. I'm going to come onto the screen right now because I'll explain it better. So, Dylan, don't get into the mentality of like, it's better to draw from my shoulder, or it's better to draw from my elbow, or it's better. It's all about the situation, the circumstance, the position you find yourself in. If I'm drawing on a small tablet, at the moment I'm drawing on a small Cintiq, right? So I will use, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, that fits. I will use my, let's see, yeah. I will use my wrist and I will use my elbow more than my shoulder, right? If I'm gonna be like have an easel and it's a big piece of paper, then I'm gonna be like shoulder drawing and elbow drawing and shoulder. You're not really going to be using it. For me, it's like if I'm close range, I'm going to be grabbing, elbowing, headbutting, kneeing. Or if I'm from a far range, I'm going to be going in with some kicks or whatever. And the same thing, it's like the right thing at the right time. So don't get into this mentality. If you've got a small sketch pad and you think this person said, you shouldn't draw from the wrist. You should draw from your shoulder. Well, there's no room to draw from the shoulder, right? So draw with the elbow and the wrist for the detail. The fingers, I sometimes just draw with my fingers, right? I draw with my wrist, my fingers. Sometimes like cleaning up with the wrist and go in there, really get the eye. So it varies like that, right? So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Let's continue. So this is Amberly. Now Amberly is redesigning her characters, and Amberly is a library member, but she's also on Don Bluth's course. Now I'm noticing what Amberly is doing, and I think this is an influence from Mr. Bluth, right? I've noticed that Amberly is now mainly drawing her profile, her characters from the side. Now Amberly, I may be wrong, maybe that's what you're doing intuitively, but I know that Bluth likes to say your character's front and your character's side are how you find it, and the 3/4 fits between. Yes, that's very, very true. But there's going to come a point where I think it'll be nice to explore a little beyond these. Like you did these drawings of this character and you did the drawings of the mic, but let's see his front view. Let's see what he looks like with 2 eyes. I know that you've drawn him from 3/4 and in your own way many times, but as the redesign, let's see you do a side view, right, which is this kind of nice shape like this. Then let's figure out the front view, which I'm gonna kind of guess would be this kind of shape, right? And then you're gonna have to think about the tail, right? So Bluth, for example, would talk about how he'd try and make Mrs. Brisby's ears like a bow tie, right? And then he'd solve that. So once he's figured it out from the front view, he'd have to, then his 3/4 get sorted out. So I personally, you know, I have a great respect and admiration for Bluth. He's one of my heroes, but I personally would like to see more of these like redesigns that you're doing. I would like to see a bit more from these characters, a bit more than just this side view profile. Maybe that's just something that you're doing with that you've learned and you're putting it into practice, but it would be nice to see what her front view would look like, you know, what that hair would be like from the front, you know, what her ears would be like from the front. Akau is making Akau. Now if you're going to study Milt and Merlin, it looks like you are doing it, but I would like to see a lot more of the silhouette. Yeah, hair, you're doing it. So a lot more of the silhouette. And try to avoid these parallel shapes like on his legs, you know. There's probably going to be some tapering there. So you see, this drawing is a lot harder than it seems. You know, Merlin is for me one of the best animated characters. Some of the best animation you're ever gonna see is gonna be of this character, this Merlin character here. I would actually say, Akau, it might be worth your while to spend. I would spend 1 month studying Merlin. Okay, you don't have to take my advice, but at the moment I can see that you're quite off, right, from the model. So let's see what happens after a month of studying a character. For me, Merlin is one of the best characters you can ever study, especially if you want to get appealing shapes and understand appealing shapes, right? One of the best. You're not going to get much better than that. So you've picked him. You don't have to do it, but what'll happen to your drawing, Akau? Let's see what'll happen to your drawing if you spend the next month studying this guy. See, this is why I make these the comment. Amberly has got another redesign, and again it's from this view, and this view is good. You're putting this Treasure Planet style leg on him, which I find quite fascinating. But again, it'll be nice to see, because there's so many different characters you're doing from the side view, which is, you know, it's a great thing. I mean, Bluth is fantastic in that. But it will be nice to see one of them from another view, just to see that you've explored at least the front view as well. Sevada Zacharians, good to see him. He's posting his basic pendulum 1 and basic pendulum 2. At the moment he's just doing perfect executions of the exercise, so I can't really say anything. Yeah, that again looks pretty, you know, that looks pretty flawless. Recreation of the basic pendulum. So Sevada, just keep going, keep moving through. There's nothing I can say. This is nice. Yep. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't really have. It depends. You see, you could. What you have done, I think you've done it more to the way I do it. There's another video at the end of the archive where I exaggerate it, so I'm not going to talk. This is exactly perfect. So this is the figure of 8 arc. So what you're seeing Sevada doing, Garrett Animations, and I think the person who asked me that question is long gone. You're seeing somebody understanding those 3 essential laws. He's following the training library exercises, but I can't say much to him because he's followed them pretty much to the letter and pretty much exact. But I'm going to use his example. What those things are doing is they are teaching you arcs, they're teaching you timing, and they are teaching you slowing in and slowing out. Okay, so here you learned the basic arc of just back and forth along there, and you learned about the time it takes. Let's say it took half a second each way, a complete second to do a full swing, right? So you're learning about slowing in and slowing out, affecting the speed, right? So then the next exercise Savada did was he's taken that kind of arc, but then he's kind of introduced a kind of figure of 8 pattern along it, right? Actually like this more, right? So, and then he's learned about slowing in and slowing out, right? At the peaks, and the speed that it takes to get there, right? And the timing. So the same thing, but in another way, right? So real animator training is drills, right? Training in drills, training in the same thing but in a slightly different way so your subconscious gets it, right? That's what it is. 1 month of Merlin sounds great. Let's do it, Akao. See, I like Akao because Akao is like me. Akao has spent a lifetime in martial arts, so he's happy to just experiment and explore. So that's why I knew he would be up for it. So it's like, okay, let's do it. I don't know who Kevon James is. I don't think he's a training library member. But again, I'm not going to criticize it. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to advise. All right? You can either take my advice or not. All right? This is obviously not a training library member by the looks of the post. Yeah, so this isn't really animation. I can't really comment on it. I can't really call this animation, Kevon James. What you're doing is a form of digital puppetry. So perhaps this isn't the right group to post this, because this group I call Real Animator Training, Growth, Development and Progress. Now, Real Animator is all about opinion, right? So since I'm the creator and moderator and, reason for this very group, it's, the group is about what my opinion of animation is and my specific training of animation. So I'm not going to debate with you. As I said, I'm not here to criticize, but if you really want to animate a walk, you need to understand the mechanics of a walk. So let's put away the pretty face. Let's not draw the girl, let's not try to make a finished colored anime. Let's understand what the hips are doing when we walk, right? Let's understand that when we go down, right, on one leg, the hip caves down on the other leg. When we stand up, right, the hip straightens. But then as we stand up, it may still drag a little, right? Then it'll eventually straighten up as we pick that knee up. And then the hip's going to go in a shape, a figure of 8 like that, right? That's the first thing. So the only real advice I can give you, if you want to really do animation, okay, so 2 pieces of advice. If you're happy just creating this kind of content, then perhaps this group is not for you, okay? So if you just want to create anime style puppet motions, right? I wish you the best. Very nice to meet you. Fantastic. But I don't feel that I can help you in this group. If you're interested in actually becoming a great animator and understanding how to move things well so that they give off the illusion of life, the only real advice I can give you is to go to the featured section of this group. So you click on featured here. If you haven't already done so, copy this passcode. You will be asked to paste it in. I have already done so. And there's a video here. Basic Walk Part 1. Absolutely free. 1 hour, 22 minutes. Alright? Where we focus on nothing but the legs and hips of this. This is a free lecture from the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation. Alright? There's nothing to this Nothing like it, okay? I'm sorry, the survival kit doesn't compare. If you think it does, go and look at your work. Go and look at mine. There you go. And you can say, look at Richard Williams' work. Yes, I have. And I stand by what I say, okay? So this thing basically is going to really help you and guide you about walks, you know, and explain to you. And it's an hour and 20 minutes, right? So that should really help you. So that's my advice if you're looking to improve yourself as an animator. You say animation exercise. If this is more the kind of content that you want to create, where you're drawing out of shape tools and vectors, and you're not really drawing the way, for example, I draw, or people who like to draw. So we're kind of like, we'll create our eyes, and I'll create my hair shape, and I'll create my nose shape like this. But if you're getting a line and you're kind of using the line tool, I mean, what is it? If you're getting a circle, and then you're getting a line here, I can't help, okay? Maybe there's a group out there that's more suited to what you want to do. But thank you for sharing your work. Cameron continuing with his studies. Now Cameron is really pushing it with the understanding the carpal bones. You know, he's doing the cuneiform bones. Okay, this is good, Cameron. I would say don't linger too long on these bones, though. Spend as much time as you would on these bones as you would, you know, don't spend too long on these bones, because the real thing, eventually these bones you're going to consider as like either a triangle this way or a triangle that way. It's good to know them. Cuneiform, no, those aren't cuneiforms actually. Those are the carpal bones. What am I saying? Yes, so you have the cuneiforms are in the feet. Oh. Yeah, so you have this Delos bone, calcaneus bone, cuboid bone, cuneiform bones, and navicular bones, right? So eventually we're just gonna have an understanding of these guys, right? Because eventually you're gonna be drawing just this shape, Cameron. But that doesn't mean you're not doing the right thing, right? But I don't want you to kill yourself on on bones like cuneiforms. Use a bit of your judgment. Go, yes, this is important. I need to know the cuneiform bones. But how many days or weeks am I going to spend studying on those? I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're not spending that long on them, but because you just seem like this machine. My new nickname for Cameron Allen Davidson Black is the Machine, because he's just constantly, you know, total respect for the guy, because he's just constantly, he's up for it. I say, how many sketch pads are you going to fill? What anatomy are you going to do? Like, the man is a machine. He's just doing it. But like, I don't want him to spend unnecessary times on certain things. You know, I know when I've done those, lectures, I'm really talking about, you got to put in the work, you got to do it, you know, fill sketch pads. But he's got a more interaction with me, and I can see him doing these things regularly, so I can interact with him and say, you can overdo it on some of those bones, so don't worry too much about them. As long as you know them, don't worry too much about them. Okay, we have reached 3 hours. Great timing. We have reached the end of the group analysis, the wall study of all your amazing posts. Now, I've told you about the free content in here. Before I come to the chat, you know, I've given you about 3 hours of my time. We've had a great look at stuff. I think it's fair that I can talk about the world's best learning resource for a couple of minutes, which is, you know, the reason I'm here. This place that keeps Real Animator Training alive, it keeps AMB animation alive, is the Real Animator Training Library. If you want to join the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation, simply go to ambanimation.com, click on Real Animator Training. This is where you're going to really get the stuff that really works for real, the right way, that'll actually transform your life. You got all this information here, all these testimonials. If you've watched my streams for a while, you don't need to even, you know how good it is, right? But this is for people who maybe come across it on Google, right? You can see people's work who have been in the library. For some reason, that video has taken its time. Training archives versus edutainment archives. Okay, what do you want? Do you want to be the real deal? Do you want to go through the hardcore training that is actually going to get you real effective results? That's what training archives are. Are you happy with just doing what you're doing and just getting tips from a master and watching a master do masterful work and enjoying that kind of content and feeling motivated and inspired? Because that's what a lot of other courses are, right? They don't actually get you any better. They just make you feel better. Well, the Real Animator Training Library is straight up with you. It's real, okay? I don't put that in my training content. I put that in what I call edutainment, right? So the training archives are where you get the step-by-step. You can get them in bundles, or you can buy them individually as you prefer. Some people who have bought thinking that they are already intermediate soon realize that they don't even know the basics. So it's advisable to follow the program, right? Because my basics are pretty much, a lot of people's. We've got a guy who works at Disney in the chat here, right? He's worked, Mr. Leon. There's a lot of stuff in my basics archive that I think he would benefit from understanding from the conversations that he's having with me in the chat. And it's not just him. I mean, I like the fact that he's here and I can interact with him. It's many people from. I even had somebody who worked at Disney feature animation on Peter Pan 2 join this place, and I said, "You're doing the basics archive." He says, "I have to. There's stuff here I don't know." Total respect for these guys coming from the industry. That's the shift in mentality, as opposed to the arrogant attitude of some of these people who like to call themselves independents or self-trained. It's too much pride in what they've achieved before that doesn't quite work, and then they want to assume that they're at a higher level. Well, you're more than welcome now. I've opened it up. You can buy each of these archives individually, whichever you want, but I highly recommend you follow the step-by-step training. Basics archive, 6 laws of life. We talked about that earlier. Intermediate archive, 6 laws of life, 6 laws of movement. Basics archive. Intermediate archive, 6 laws of life, but also consolidating 6 laws of movement. Anatomy archive, or every single bone in the body except for the hyoid bone, which is vital to the muscle archive, which I'm going to build, is featured in the anatomy archive for you to master the human skeleton, which is what every animator needs to do before they really worry about muscles. The advanced archive, that's where we learn about solid drawing on model, getting appeal, exaggeration, character into our intermediate grade standard of work, right? These are not step-by-step. These are seminars. If you're attending any university, you'd want to see masterful seminars that kind of demonstrate this kind of stuff. So this is almost edutainment, but a little bit more serious than what you get in the edutainment. There's no cursing, fun and games, or live chat going on so much in this. So that's training. Edutainment. You can watch any one of these videos if you visit here and learn about each and every archive. But I like to go straight to this. How to animate your own film seminar series. 56 live streams. Okay, so it adds up to 6 24-hour days. You basically watch me from start to finish, design the characters, design the backgrounds and environments, and we animate a film from start to finish with this level of animation. Over 56 live streams, right? But the way we do it is I talk, I have a chat, I curse, I even get some of you to do a few squats and press-ups with me to tell you about, when people ask me about how do you stay fit and all that in the chat. So that's the kind of live streams these edutainments are. They're very much like YouTube content, very much like what you're watching today, right now at this very moment. So not straight up, here's how to do it, follow me, monkey say, monkey do, right? We're both monkeys, okay? Right, so that is real animator training. We have animation sessions, animation breakdowns, drawing sessions, ask the animator how to animate your own film. They are all priced according to the value that you get. You always get more in use value than I receive in cash value. That is the power of real animator training. Just to put that in perspective, as I said, you get people who have graduated from CalArts joining this place. You have people who have been to Bluth University joining this place. You have people who have been to Animation Mentor joining this place. You have people who have been to Full Sail, many of these colleges joining this place. We even have people who have worked at Cartoon Network, Disney TV, Nickelodeon, and Disney Feature, as well as many independent animators joining this place. And you can get all of these archives for the price of a mid-range laptop, or a iPad, top-grade iPad with accessories. So you're getting that kind of education for that price. So from the Apple Store, no, we're not talking second-hand, right? So that is still extremely great value for the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation, aka real animation, bar none. Okay, right, let me now go and have a little chat with you guys. Read some of your comments before I leave. Where are we? I remember the last question I answered was from Trash Boy. I don't know why you please don't reconsider calling or turn off the double mic. Don't call yourself Trash. But maybe it's I don't know. I don't like to call you Trash, but you've written that. Thanks, AMB, not really too much into Dragon Ball or other anime that much, but the nose. I will keep a diamond in mind and keep doing the follow along of the jaw. Oh, next time we'll talk about eyes then. I honestly thought you wanted those Dragon Ball style eyes. Ed Dado is online. Good to see him. Patchtoons attracting all the big guns. Patchtoons is a really super talented youngster. I believe he's only 18. And, he's the one doing those run cycles from my library. But he's got his own independent style out there. He's quite big on Twitter. And, yeah, I think he's going to go places. Clearly, so does Ed. So, what did SpongeBob ever do to you? He was made. I don't like SpongeBob because I don't like I believe all of that stuff started to move. We started to move away from not only quality. Again, now I'm spitting opinions, not facts. Okay? Opinions. It's as good as yours. Let me be clear about that. We moved away from nicely drawn TV animation, I believe, into this kind of like, it helped people become nose blind, but eye blind to quality. So the drawing became shit. The animation became shit, even shitter, because TV animation was always shit in terms of quality. And the draftsmanship, the scripts everything was this kind of insincere humor, no drama, no kind of like sincere storytelling. So all of the those cartoons, like you had the 90s was a great time. You had Batman the animated series, you had the Legend of Prince Valiant, you had Peter Pan and the Pirates, you had the Pirates of Dark Water, you had these kind of like adventure drama, melodrama, kind of less on the comedy, more on the. Again, it's all opinion. I like that stuff. Now we have very little of that stuff, and even if that stuff's there, it's got shitty jokes in it. Like, I mean, I wanted to give Avatar: The Airbender a chance, but I found it very hard to. Even just after the first few minutes, it looked like a really nice, serious show, but then these guys are fishing in the water already. Really, 5 bad jokes that the script writer has tried to write. I'm already thinking that's supposed to be funny. Just can we have some story, please? They're in the water. Then suddenly this creature, this boy comes out of the water, this avatar, and he asks them to go penguin fishing or something like that, or something stupid. I said, I've had enough. So it looks good. It's got good drawings and good animation, but SpongeBob to me and those kind of cartoons were the beginning of the transition away from the kind of cartoons that inspired me, that I liked, and the kind of stupid, insincere, nonsense mentality. As I said, it's all opinion, okay? It's all taste. I like coffee, you like tea. You say potato, I say potato, whatever. So I'm not claiming to have any authority in this view. It is just simply my opinion, and that's why I don't like SpongeBob. Perhaps a programming team to code a hybrid OpenToon. Yeah, I've always wanted to make my own animation software and just call it digital paper or real animator paper or something like that. I would literally base it all on Storyboard Pro, get rid of any of the unnecessary interfaces, and it would be pretty much perfect. Even the new leg design kind of reminds me of Dirk. Yeah, Dirk the Daring is one of the best characters out there, just pure simplicity. For me, Dirk the Daring is like Batman the Animated Series, but I just prefer Dirk the Daring. They're both extremely simple, both extremely graphic, but Dirk the Daring goes a little bit further in the sophistication of the facial expressions and stuff like that. I'm in the part where we all fuse. Okay, I remember that comment. I'm getting stuck on the 3 bones, on these 3 bones. I'm gonna go and see Lady and the Tramp. Yeah, Lady and the Tramp. The real Lady and the Tramp, not that awful, digital puppetry nonsense, the ugly looking thing that was recently released. I thought about this yesterday, but could you do a skip cycle for the Real Animator Training Library? I'm not sure if there is one. There isn't one, but here's the thing. After doing the Basics Archive patch tunes, see if you can do a skip cycle on your own. After doing the jog, the walk, and the run, maybe go back and remember a little bit about what you did with the jog and the run. Then go and watch somebody skipping, make a few sketches, and then you see why I'm saying that is because Amberly, Frilled Mayfly, some of you know her as, even though she's on the Bluth course, she's coming back and learning from my intermediate archive, so she's doing the dog cycles in the intermediate archive. And I was like, you can go on her Twitter, like I think you follow her on Twitter, Patchtunes. Frilled Mayfly, she is on Twitter, I think, or Amberly or something. Yeah. She immediately felt inspired to try her own cycle, and she did a dog which was limping on the back leg while the 2 front arms were walking, and it was just limping and hopping. She did it all from just after doing my basic dog cycle, but she's of course been through a lot of the other training. So I ask you, Patchtunes, yes, I could do a skip cycle. I could just take my little red skip cycle, which is in little red, and make the tutorial of that. Or what I like to see is let's see you apply some of the stuff that you're learning. Let's see you knock out a skip cycle with that stick man of your own. I think walk, run and jog are the same action, just in slightly different ways, and they're the major gates, and anything else you do is kind of like in between, right? Involving those. Yes, it is a great thumbnail. I'm going to feel sorry about changing the thumbnail to put this anime guy on there, but it's going to have to be done. Yen Sid, that's Disney. I don't know who Yen Sid is. That's Disney backwards. But, no, Studio Anime is quite right in that regard. I was having so much fun learning, it doesn't feel like 3 hours. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. When making an animated show, what's more important, the animation or the story? Which one should I lean towards? Well, the story is very important, but it's not really the story that's so important. It's how you tell the story. Now, you could tell that story if your passion is dialogue and verbal and written word, then you could tell the story through the power of speech. So the animation, the drawing, everything can subside. I mean, people watch South Park. It's got its own visual style, but South Park, all these things, I believe people just, Family Guy, people just like, it's almost like a newsprint cartoon strip. You're instead of reading the speech bubbles, you're listening to the yap. For me personally, I can't stand that stuff. I can't stand looking at it. So I'm not willing to listen to the story because I don't like the expression. Everybody raves about Rick and Morty. It hurts my eyes to even look at it. So I don't care. But that's, again, opinion. But you've asked me this question. So I'm going to answer you this question using more of my experience. But that doesn't make what I'm saying fact. This is one of those kind of questions. It's not about about the technique. All right. So there is no right and wrong way. But I will say it's how, as somebody who has been a head of story, and somebody who has worked in storyboard for the last 10 years of my career before I quit to do this, because this is so much more fulfilling. I would say that storyboard, and if you're just more interested in, if your goal is to captivate an audience and tell a story, then the quality of the animation is not so important, which is why we are where we are today. People are looking for content. We're content hungry today in a world where people can't make content as fast as people are consuming content. These streaming platforms are out here looking for content, but that content is always going to be micromanaged, so they're always going to have, it might seem like it's easier for you to get your stuff made today than it ever was, and in some ways it is, but they're still, selling a show to these people is still difficult. But so it's how you tell the story. Are you going to tell the story with, like a lot of anime tells the story with really cool art direction, really cool visual style, really cool just design, and then so you're literally looking at one image like a comic book, and then you're hearing the character going, I'm gonna use my backyard red cross or whatever against you, and then you'll see the other character going, I'm gonna kick the shit out of you, or something like. He's not moving, the animation's shit, his mouth's shaking, his hair might be blowing in the wind with a wavy cycle, so you're seeing some movement, but it's well drawn, it's got nice shadows and lighting on it, and people who are into that are into the story. Like all Dragon Ball is a bunch of people shooting up in the sky, with some flashing arms and flashing legs, and then people standing going, I like the way he did that move, or oh my god, he's going to go Super Saiyan. And people love it. People just want to watch that. So there's a market for anything out there. So it depends what you want. It depends when you sit, but at the end of the day, we make this stuff for ourselves. We think we're making it for other people, but we make it for ourselves. We get a sense of fulfillment by creating the work, but that fulfillment is going to then be split. What do other people think of it? We get a sense of fulfillment in what other people think of it. But then it goes back again. It's like a game of tennis. I'm going to make this. What do they think of it? So they go, we hate it. Oh, they hate it. I'm going to put my racket down and cry about it. Or I'm going to make this. What do other people think of it? People knock the ball back. We love it, all right? And then you're going to keep making it, and then you get it. But then you're going to actually look at what you're making, and you're going to say to yourself, well, what do I think of it? Well, if it's shit, it doesn't matter how popular you are or how much or how well known you are or whatever you are. If you feel what you're doing is shit, then it's shit, and you won't feel happy about it. You'll be kind of like, I wish I was known for something else, and I wish people didn't like me for this, you know. So you should lean towards what you want to do. What are you excited about? What excites you about animation? And if you would rather be a content creator than an actual someone who does the animation or expresses the art of the animation, and you want to be a show creator, then you should focus on creating shows. You should write scripts, design characters, have sketches, have ideas, and then collaborate with people. Do rough sketches of characters and then pay people to flesh them out for you. Create scripts and pay people to storyboard them for you, and be at the helm. It's all about what you want to do with your life. Me personally, I could do that. I've got the capital, but I channel my capital into other things because I want to have some say in what it looks like. I like to be like a Miyazaki or a Don Bluth. Don Bluth boards his entire movies. So does Miyazaki, you know. Eventually I'll have to rely on other people, but at the moment I kind of like enjoy being this living embodiment of everything that I preach. Okay, high quality, you know, being able to do it all, being able to have the ability, you know, that little red stands as a testament as living the word, you know. So it's entirely up to you, you know. That's what I would say to you about that. What do you do to stay motivated? I always have difficulty with that question. If you need to stay motivated, you need to question why you're doing this. Like, I never need to stay motivated to draw and animate. I don't need to stay motivated to go and eat at some point in the day. I don't need to stay motivated to even go and have a crap at some point into the day. That's life, okay? Animation is life. I don't need to be motivated for that. If I don't do it, then I need to be motivated to stop and get out of the rut that I'm in so I can do it. And the motivation would be animation. Either this or animation. For me, animation or death. Living death. Anything else, living death. That's the way I see it. Animation is everything for me. I don't need to be motivated. So if somebody tells me that they need to be motivated to do animation, I will say, go away and write down 1,000-word or 5,000-word essay on why you like animation and why you feel you think you need to do animation. Now, you might even need to be motivated to do that. Well, why should I do that? Well, that's one of the most important things you could do with your life, because many people are really living in a very deluded state because they tell themselves they want to do something, but the way they live is in absolute opposition to what they claim they want to do. I've said to many people, I like to use my father-in-law as an example. Many people come to me and say, I want to learn how to be an animator. Your training is so good, but I just can't afford it. I say, okay, you can't afford it, right? My father-in-law, he goes fishing. He's not going to get a job out of fishing. He goes fishing because he likes fishing. He likes fishing so much that he's willing to buy a $4,000 drone, a quad bike, and whatever as he's getting older, so he can keep going around on his own and fishing. That's somebody who loves what he's doing. He's motivated by what it is, right? So people who tell me when I'm offering the best training in the world for the price of a mid-range laptop or an iPad, or even a short excursion away, a short holiday away if you want, like many people do that all year round, but they don't want to sacrifice that for this when they can have this thing that gives them exactly what they're looking for. So it's premises. It's like people like talk is cheap, but the problem is talk is also powerful, because words are powerful. Words are so powerful because they're sounds and vibrations, and they put you into action, and they put other people into action. You can be haloed for your words, or you can be cancelled, or you can be even executed in some countries for your words. So although talk is cheap, it's also, words are extremely powerful. And if you tell yourself, I want to be this, I want to be an animator, that's what I want to do, but really that's in opposition to what your heart wants to do. Because actions, however powerful words are, actions speak louder than words. But words are powerful enough to screw your brain up, to make you think, well, I need to do this, I need to get motivated to do it, I need to get... If you feel the need that you need to get motivated to do it, I would strongly advise anybody. I mean, AMB Animation stands for my name, Urshad Mirza Beg Animation, but it also stands for Animation, Motivation and Belief. What does that mean? It doesn't mean I'm going to motivate you. It means the animation is the motivation to believe in yourself that you can do it. That's what it means. So ultimately, anybody, whether it's animation, drawing, cooking, martial arts, gardening, or whatever, they say they really like doing it. Is it just a sideline? Is it just a hobby? Well, then sit back, relax, chill, enjoy your life, and be thankful you've got a hobby. Then your life is going to be a lot easier. But if it's something that you want to really be good at, and it's your burning desire is what it's all about, then there's no motivation. Desire, you all have desires. You might walk past a really fancy car and go, I wish I had a car like that, but it's only a whim. It's a desire, a small, fleeting desire. Wish I had a house like that. You might even watch a really hot member of the opposite sex and for a small moment go, whoa, that's good, that's nice, but that's a desire of, a completely abstract desire. You don't wish you had it, you just appreciate it, that's it, right? So there's so many different forms of desire. So the thing is this kind of desire, we're talking, if it's animation or art or what you want to spend your life doing, what you really, really want to cry yourself to sleep because you feel you're not good enough, or it's all the time giving you anxiety or worry or fear and doubt because it's all you think about, whether it's negative, good, bad, or indifferent, it's all you think about. That's what we call a burning desire. And that the burning desire is basically the candle and the flame. Now, what comes first? No, the candle is the fuel to the flame. It is one. So the burning desire is the fuel to your flame. Animation is the fuel to your actions. You don't need to be motivated. The flame is not motivated by the wax or the candle, right? It is simply fuel to the fire. That's all it is. Really not even interesting. Yeah, it's not helping. It does bad to the subconsciously self-depreciating usernames, Hugo. Absolutely right. I said words are powerful. Yeah, but I mean, if you think Dark Matter, Wily Kit and Wily Cat were kids in Thundercats, and while the show had a little bad voice acting and could have been better written, and it's not perfect, I didn't really cringe at Wily Kit and Wily Cat, so that's not a good enough excuse for me. I just think Avatar: The Last Airbender is again the scriptwriter thinking he's a comedian and failing really badly. Um, bu-bu-bum. Yeah, well, Red Fox, you need to string the front and back legs together. Um, I've actually seen many episodes of the Avatar. It used to come on TV, but I never saw it in sequence or whatever. I just caught it whenever I did. So I thought, let me invest some time in it. Um, it starts out slow at first. Nintendo, I love slow stuff. I love Once Upon a Time in the West. I love Once Upon a Time in America. I love Brazil. Well, I kind of like Brazil. I like Blade Runner. I like, you know, I like slow things. So it's not that I need to get into Avatar for it to pick up. And no, I'm just very unforgiving to the kind of material I've described. Um, yeah, Akao is quite right in his summing up. Avatar is 14 years old, so it's hardly modern. Would animating him be effective character animate as Merlin? Animating who? Yen Sid is a serious looking wizard that mentors Mickey Mouse. Yen Sid is far more inferior to Merlin. Um, Mickey Mouse in Fantasia is a work of art, but there's still some. I mean, Fred Moore is one of the greats. We all owe a lot, especially those of us who love to draw cartoon women, owe a lot to Fred Moore. His Mickey Mouse redesign was amazing, but they actually hadn't really, 1940 we're talking, Snow White 1937, Fantasia 1940. So we haven't really those guys haven't really they've flexing their muscles, their newfound muscles that they've basically the finding fathers of this thing. But Merlin is like taking it to the highest, which it hasn't been bettered. Just Merlin is Merlin. um, yeah. Yen Sid is the sorcerer. Yeah, it reminded now Disney backwards. I know. Yeah. Um, what did you think about the recent He-Man reboot? I refuse to watch it. I refuse to watch it for many reasons. Again, a lot of people are looking at the drawing and thinking the anime. When I heard the criticisms, they were saying the animation style was good. No, the animation was actually really bad. I like the original Thundercats. I don't think it should have ever been remade, but I can pull myself out of that and say that actual reboot that they did with the good, not the shitty Thundercats Roar, there was this other reboot with these more graphic looking things. I will actually sit down and say, yes, that's good. I don't like the fact they've made it. I refuse to watch it, but I can pull myself away from being a fanboy of the original and be honest and say there's good in that. That's a good way if you're gonna remake something, I don't like it, I like the original, but look, let's face facts, a lot of people are gonna look at that and think it's old fashioned and they're gonna want to watch something current. That's the way to do it. That's good. I might not like it, I haven't seen a single episode of it, but I can be honest enough to say what I've seen of it. Okay. I'll step out of my own personality and admit that that's good. But this thing is just sliding drawings that are kind of goodish. That's not good, That's so the animation of the new He-Man that was on Netflix is appalling. So I'm not fooled by drawing thinking that's animation, which is a lot of what these big YouTubers who criticize, you know, criticize it for. So, but that's not why I wouldn't watch it. I watched The Legend of Prince Valiant, which has got some of the most appalling animation, but I grew up on that show. It's why I'm sitting with you here today. The story of the prince who finds Camelot believing in his dream that everybody thought he was mad. That was me when I was a teenager, and being an animator was my Camelot. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that show. And I still love that show, and I'm going to put elements of it in the Groundhopper. If I get anybody working the Groundhopper off the ground, I'm going to force them to watch the entire Legend of Prince Valiant and incorporate elements of that storytelling in there. So I'm willing to forgive awful animation, because you can't get much worse than Prince Valiant. Well, you can, but you can't, if you know what I mean. But I don't look. Politics is like a ever-evolving thing. It's circular, you know. In Rome, what they're doing now was commonplace. All these, you know, forms of sexual expression, all these things. I don't get caught up in picking sides or allowing myself to be offended, or sometimes it happens, and then I go, hang on, this is all circular thing. And don't get caught in the vacuum. Don't do what the media are trying to make you do. Take attention away from your greatness and argue about shit, right? That's what all this woke, cancel, whatever you want to call it. I don't get involved. Sometimes it can get my attention, but then I remind myself. But what I don't like about the He-Man thing is everything I read about it and whatever about it, that's not the He-Man I know. So if I'm not willing to watch a great Thundercats reboot because I love the original Thundercats, this is a far cry from anything for me to want to invest my time in that. There are plenty of shows out there that I would want to invest my time in, but I can't because I'm so busy. So why on earth would I watch this, which I know is going to trigger me and piss me off with what they're doing to something that influenced my childhood? It's not for me. It's for the new generation. So fine, I won't watch it. It's that simple. Let's not argue about it. Let's not have an opinion of it. It's not for me. If I watched it, it will probably piss me off because it's taken what I know, but it's not for me. So you see the cycle of the vacuum, what they're trying to catch you in. I won't allow them to. I'll go and create something that's for me, my work, my content. That's what I love. AMB, is this particular stream going to stay on YouTube? Yes, it is. This is your stream. This is the stream for my community stream. It's not library comment. If you would like me to analyze your animation, I never say critique. I'm not here to criticize. Whatever way you put it, constructive, whatever. It's like I'm going to punch you in the face and it's constructive. No, for me, criticize is a negative. I will suggest, I will offer my opinion, my considered opinion and my analysis. If you would like me to do that, MKSJI, then please join my global Facebook community. The details of how to do that are in there, and post your work. And if it is something that I think is worthy of my time, because I prioritize that group for my library members, but I say that non-library members are more than welcome to join that group. If it's something I think that's worthy of my time, do you look like somebody who's serious about animation? Does your work look like somebody who's actually studied and tried? That's all I mean by worthy of my time. Not that I'm so above you, but what I mean is my time is only worthy for what I call real animation that's drawn, that people have really made an attempt, a genuine, real attempt to work. That's worthy of my time. So post it in that group, and if it is, I'll share my thoughts. I didn't see it. If you just posted it now, I'm not going to look. You will have to wait for the next live stream. My mom didn't like the look of the first reboot show either. She hates it when they all age down the characters to be more reliable to the kids. Yeah, relatable. Yeah, they kind of patronize kids today. Um, there was this thread on Twitter. I don't normally get caught up on threads on Twitter, but since a certain person purchased it, I'm quite interested in where it's going to go. There was a thread on Twitter where they were showing Secret of Nim sword fight, and I learned something from that thread which I didn't even know. I know a lot about animation. I'm spitting dates at you. I'm spitting all these things, names at you. But they were talking about the sword fight between Justin and Jenner, which is the rat and the evil rat. You know, this handsome heroic rat. And the comments were like, I'm thinking like these kids just. I'm in my 40s now. Like I'm in my mid 40s. So I grew up with a lot of different kinds of styles of storytelling, but a lot of these youngsters on Twitter, they're like, wow, this was for kids, you know, we wished we had this when we were like there, and like, I can't believe so brutal for kids. It's like, not brutal. This was the norm, and it's not brutal. It's great. There's nothing bad about it. None of us had nightmares from that. I had nightmares from anime when I was a kid. There was an anime Frankenstein by Toei Animation where he's very, very dark. That gave me nightmares. But this is not. This is perfect kids, for kids and adults, family story. Secret of Nim is one of the most perfect films ever made, as far as I'm concerned. The kind of content I would like to make, what I call real family content. But then somebody posted a clip from Kirk Douglas' The Vikings, which was a film directed by Richard Fleischer, who was the son of Max Fleischer, who did Fleischer Studio, Gulliver's Travels, Out of the Inkwell, Betty Boop, and all that stuff. And there was a sword fight in there that Bluth lifted a lot of reference from. And I'm like, wow, because I know Bluth loves his reference. And I learned something from that thread. But, yeah, this whole making, that's why I kind of like, I could go to places like Netflix and all these things and try and get funding for Little Red that way, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want these committees telling me how to tell my stories. We live in a world where I can post something on YouTube and make sure that it's not for kids by what their standards are for kids. That's a shame. But I'm not going to make, I'm going to make it the kind of like the Secret of Nim kind of style storytelling. That Black Cauldron, Secret of Nim, those kind of things are the kind of things that were for kids. They weren't not for kids. It's funny. I mean, even Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings back in the day, that's not, that, to me, that's modern. That was like parental guidance, PG. Lord of the Rings was considered a kid's book. But again, I don't want to get caught in the vacuum. It's not for me. Like, I can create my content outside of what they define, and I can put it out there, I find it baffling when people don't have an opinion on political topic. Well, you can have an opinion, but opinions are cheap and they're not facts. And the thing is do you want to waste precious time? Because as I said, we've all got energy. Like, somebody was passionately arguing to me about politics. And I said, if you stop. And I said, if you had an ounce of that passion of all of the things, because this person wanted to be martial arts. I have a history in martial arts as well as I do animation. My animation is far superior to my martial arts, but I had a bit of a history in martial arts. And then I said to him, stop. You're full of shit. Because all of this energy and all of this passion, you've obviously spent a lot of time thinking about this. Imagine if you spent all that time and energy into the things that you say you want to do, what would have happened? But that didn't happen, which is why you're full of excuses of why you never made it. So just don't waste any more of my time and go your way and I'll go mine. And that was it. Because, yes, getting caught up in all the vacuum of politics and all of these kind of things is fun, it's infectious and it's contagious, but it's actually not healthy as far as I'm concerned. I just want to wait, my dude, he will get a show reel in the next stream, and also since you already posted in the group, yeah. As I said, I'm not going to look now The deal when I do these feedback streams is nobody posts while I'm giving feedback, okay? Because it's endless, and I'm going to take it the way it should be taken. Obviously, you respect me, and thank you very much, and you want my opinion. I feel very honored about that, and I will give you my opinion on my next live stream, okay? But on the flip side, I'm not like a strip show dancing monkey where you throw me money and I'll take off my imaginary bra or whatever. I'm not one of those kind of streamers. I don't need to be here, right? So I'll take it for what it is, right? You respect me, and I respect you. Thank you so much. I really value the fact that you would like me to look at your work. But there are rules, right? When I'm doing the live stream, if anybody posts in that group while I'm doing the live stream, I'm not going to look at it, because it just becomes like one of those kind of websites, you know, pay the monkey and watch him clash his cymbals together, you know. Self-respect is something very important, which I think sometimes we get lost in when we're looking for likes and shares and attention, okay? So if you tune in next week, I'm going to be here maybe not next Monday actually. I think I may be away for a little while, but the stream will always be on my channel. So the next feedback stream that's titled The Animation Doctor Expert Animator Fixes Your Work, the next time you see one of those streams, as I said, if your show reel looks like I will comment on whatever, right? And if it grabs my attention, then I'll have a look at it. Okay, so Studio Anima, that's a great idea. That's it. We've reached the end of the stream. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure to share with you some of my experience, some of my knowledge, and some of my opinions. And it's been a pleasure to look at your work. And my online activity may not be so active over the next week. We will see. But I will be back. I can guarantee you that in a week's time, if not. And we'll be doing more great stuff, more great effects animation studies, building that archive. You'll be seeing more drawings from me. I'll keep posting my drawings, whether I'm online or not online. We're gonna be we're gonna be building more archives. A lot of stuff to do this year. A lot of stuff to do. So as ever, remember, keep it real, and I'll see you all on the next live stream. Over and out. Bye bye.